Hey everyone, welcome to episode 72 of the Bonehead Podcast, where we talk all things Blood Bowl. Welcome back, I'm Ben, and once again I'm joined by Blood Tithe Ben. BT, how are you today?
Hello, I'm great, thanks. How are you?
I'm good. I'd be much better if I hadn't already decided this was episode 17 and not 72, and then make everyone re-record the very first bit. Anyway, Ben, we're joined by some heroes of Blood Bowl. Why don't you introduce them for us?
Yes, we're joined again by Sam and Milton, who filled in on the Blood Bowl 3 discussion where I was away, which was a great podcast. So we brought them back because they're fantastic. How are you guys?
Yeah, doing good, thanks.
Yeah, not too bad, thank you.
So we've got Sam Frenzy Garner, who did win Tombstone, one of our tournaments. Sam, was it Tombstone you won?
It was Tombstone, yeah.
It was Tombstone with his Khorne team, and we've got Miltonio Banderas, the Block King, as well. Now, the reason we've dragged these guys on again is not just because they're great company, but because we all survived our first tournament of what feels like this century. Last weekend, it was Bonehead Bowl 2021, and we got together with nearly 20 people and had an awesome Blood Bowl tournament. And so other than Bonehead Bowl, Ben, what are we going to be talking about today?
We're going to be talking about yet another tournament that's coming up in a few weeks. And also we'll be going through a star player tier list, which Milton had a great idea of putting together our own personal tier lists of the new star players, or revamped star players and reduced list of star players, and tiering them, and we'll compare against each other and see where we've placed each one.
No, I'm looking forward to that. It was a cracking little idea, Milton. And having seen them, I think we're gonna have some chats. I think there's definitely going to be some talkings. My personal favourite is Sam's, and I think you guys would appreciate that one. So that's going to be pretty good. Right, with that then, let's bounce on to news for Blood Bowl. And we've actually got quite a bit of news today, so let's begin. Okay, so we actually have some Games Workshop Blood Bowl news. It's not exactly what we're after. I suppose before we even move on to this bit, the Ogre stuff, is that out now? They re-released the pitch and the dice. Is that what you were going to try and buy and toy?
Yeah, that was out on Saturday.
That was out on Saturday. Okay, so they're continuing going through all the pitches and re-releasing them. Which is good, although it does make me think of, like, what was it, last week's podcast, Ben, where we were talking about Games Workshop conspiracy theories with, like, the short orders of pitches and stuff, the carnage that ensued last year, and now they're like, nah, never mind, here it goes. Milton, you're a bit of a dice hog. Are you expecting to see some of the older ones re-released, like which ones are the ones that are like £50 or something at the moment?
Dark Elves, Undead, they're the most expensive. Nurgle as well.
Undead?
Yeah, the undead dice are quite rare because
nice.
Yeah, they were kind of on that turning point between when like people started to really like seek them. So there weren't that many, I think, sold.
Yeah, I love mine. I think they're great. They're great for filming because they're really clear. I would like the old ogre ones as well. The new ogre ones, that's the kind of red one. They look pretty good, but the old ones are the case. Anyway, Blood Bowl news. We've got an article in White Dwarf coming out. When is this White Dwarf out? I assume if it's got a preview, it's got to be like this week or next week or something. Episode 4.
It just says this month. I can't remember the date that they come out.
Episode 466, issue 466, has got referee rules. So red cards and rule keepers, Blood Bowl players might be firmly and understandably of the opinion that referees should keep their opinions to themselves. Unfortunately, that's not for them to decide, and this suite of rules offers you not just new ways to deal with misbehaving players, but profiles for two unique referees, Elnos Lawkeeper and Red Kerr Forgebeard. So we've got one basically double page spread that we've seen in the preview, and these referees are going to be on the pitch, which we've talked about a couple of times, haven't we? We are.
Yeah, we were kind of wondering what they were going to do because they didn't have anything in the box for them. So we were like, why are they here? And I guess this explains why they're there.
I kind of expected to see some rules for this in Death Zone. I mean, they got the inducements, but not the actual on the pitch stuff. I mean, as a Goblin coach, Sam, I imagine that the opportunity to take out the referee would probably be pretty good.
You know what? If they include that, then because he can be caught, even if you can't target him, he should surely be able to be targeted by like a bomb blast.
That's fair.
Or a thrown player landing on him, something like that.
Yeah.
Do they have armor value?
Why they give him stats for that?
Do they have armor values? Yes, they do. Armor 8+.
That's the one they've provided in the screenshot. Is the one for like a generic referee, and they say in that blurry text that you can, what I can make out anyway. The article will continue to include the rules for the dwarf and the elf that they include in the box. So I imagine they'd have different stats. This one seems to line up with other refs they've had, which are mostly like halflings, aren't they?
Yeah,
like a halfling ref.
and goblins.
Yeah.
This one makes a lot of sense. But no, I mean, initially it looks like they are going to be on the pitch and they move after both players have taken their turn each time. I mean, we were talking before we started recording about that. I don't think what was it? We kind of likened it to a ball and chain, but a little bit less fun.
Yeah, it's just more movement with less damage and carnage. So
that's
it's
right.
kind of just. It sounds like a bit of a faff. I think you could because they go towards the ball anyway. You could probably just house rule it to move them up to as close as they can get to the ball, because that's going to be what they're doing anyway.
To move the referee, place the throw-in template over the referee, pointing towards either sideline or end zone in a direction towards the ball. Then roll a d6 and move the referee one square in that direction. Yeah, it's not. I mean, 5 squares is a bit of a nuisance. I think you described it, Ben, as a bit of a faff, and I think that's probably a polite way of saying it. But if the elf is movement 6, I hope they never have a skink referee. It would just be the worst thing in the world. Like, let's have a skink referee and movement 8. Yeah, interesting. I mean, it'll be cool. It's a cool feature to have. And I am not going to lie. Like, while I love seeing articles and stuff, I am just a bit like, why is this not in a spike or a death zone? I mean, just so that the Blood Bowl players can get it all together, because they're starting to. This is not AOS or any other games, but there's starting to be quite a few different supplements that are coming in. And you know, when I do the monthly meta videos, it's like, and there's this, 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 and that's before you even get to the NAF stuff as well. It's be like, hey, welcome to Blood Bowl. It's not as bad as Adeptus Titanicus or Necromunda, but I don't know. I mean, it's fun. It's fun. So it's only fun, and this will probably be of no use at all to competitive Blood Bowl, which is potentially right, I think.
Yeah, but it does add like some value to the core box set.
It does.
And I think that's kind of cool. You know, if you're only interested in picking up a box game, you get the core box set, the 2 teams, you want to play the game. You're playing that since, when did it come out? Like November or something, was it?
Yeah.
You know, you've got some games in and you've already got these minis, and now you've got some extra rules to play with. Brings in a bit more variety. All you got to do is go out and grab the White Dwarf.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to achieve the goal of selling us the White Dwarf. I'll probably just do what Milton does, get the digital copy when it comes out. It's nice and quick. I do like that.
Yeah,
I think that's very useful. Anyway, talking of getting more miniatures on the table, we have got the Sunday preview last week for pre-order on Friday the 9th, which when this podcast airs will either be tomorrow or yesterday, depending on whether you're a patron or not. We've got the model for Frankenstein landing from Forge World this week. And, I mean, he's a bit of a divisive miniature. I mean, we are going to talk in depth about star players later, so let's not go too much into his rules and stuff. I mean, I love the big Hulk hand. That's cool.
He looks like the artwork. It looks like they drew a lot of inspiration from the artwork. Not all of the star players do that. So I think, quite like that.
Was this teased or leaked at some point? Because I feel like I've seen it before, a long time ago.
Yeah, they did those, pitch side reports? Like, once a month they spoil a mini that's coming or something like that.
Right, okay.
I mean, I think they've done a really good job of getting cohesive with their designs, and I really genuinely think it's got something to do with Blood Bowl 3. Like, I feel, because we've seen some art for some of the other stars. We've seen some other stars in the Blood Bowl 3 trailers now, which we'll talk about in a sec. But like, they've gone and they've solidified a load of the art choices, and the models and the game and the art all really line up really well, which is probably good for trying to figure out who's who. It's a tough one because it's quite a cool miniature. I do like the Punga one better.
I was going to say that. I think the Punga one is hands down my favourite. But yeah, it's not bad.
Nah, Punga one's cool. He's got some funky 3D glasses as well. We gave a couple away as spot prizes at Bonehead Bowl as well, and it went down pretty well. Anyway, what do you reckon price-wise for this guy when he lands from Forge World?
Probably too much.
Absolutely too much. But is it going to be the lower end of too much at like £21, the same as everything else, or is it going to be pushing a higher price bracket because he's a strength 5 boy? I mean, how much was the Zote? Was it like 40?
Too much.
Something like that. Yeah, I think 35. I think the Zote. I don't think he'd be that. I think he'd be around 25. He's still just a dude, really. It shouldn't be any more than that, to be fair.
Let's hope not. I mean, I'll pick one up and we'll have a look at the size and everything. And I think I've still got one of the Punga ones, so we can actually do a comparison as to what the miniature, which miniature you can go with. I don't know. I like it. It's cool. It's nice to have more Blood Bowl releases. I am absolutely gagging for a new team, though. I just want another Spike. I feel a bit bad because I guess we've had like loads of teams, but it would be really nice to have another Spike. Anyway. So, do I have the next bit lined up for us? I do not. So, we'll just talk about it now. Just today, Blood Bowl 3 released a new trailer. Had some stuff about getting sponsors on the go. But in the video was 3 star players that do not have models at the moment. The Kraken Eye guy. The Dark Elf dude.
Kurnoth.
That's it. Kurnoth Kraken Eye was in there. Although I think we've seen him before in the Blood Bowl 3 footage. The Verminator was in there. Creek Rust Gouger. The Skaven Ball and Chain dude. And also Withergrass Double Draw. Or Dribble Draw. Double Draw. Dibble. I don't know. The Chaos dude with 2 heads and tentacles and stuff. So we've got those. We've seen those in BB3. We've also seen Ripper. I mean, how are they? And we've seen Max Spleen Ripper now. Okay, so that's at least 2 Chaos Star players. When are we going to see them on the tabletop? When are we going to see them on the tabletop?
Probably when the game releases, which is in many, many years, I think, right? I'm not sure. Maybe I don't know. Like, I think it would be nice to see them on the tabletop before 2022. But we are, in the second half now of the year. These star players they're releasing, like Frankenstein, are coming out pretty slow. This is a lot. So either they do what we've discussed before and they release like a big star player pack with them all at once, or it's going to be quite some time, I think, before we see these.
We've also seen...
That would be my best guess. Is a star player pack.
Well, that's what I thought as well. But then Death Zone dropped, and it was not that at all. I mean, another star. It would be lovely to see some of the Goblin stars again, Sam, as well. It would help with some Goblin lost list building.
Yeah. I'm still convinced that they're going to do spikes based on, like they did with Necromantic. You do like a spike for that faction with a bunch of them stars, and then, like we've seen, like a slow trickle of stars from that spike.
Oh, you just gave me an idea. What if they release a star player spike, not a new team one?
What,
just star players?
I mean, that would be cool. That would be cool, but they'd need to release some models to go with it. And I mean, like you guys said, they're landing very slowly, and it's cool to get Frankenstein, but it's coming out in the middle of July, and the spike came out in November. That's 9 months. We still haven't seen the model for for Bruce Campbell, Bryce the Slice, who's like one of the other missing star players. We haven't seen the model for Rumbelow Sheepskin yet either, and we have seen the model for Max Spleen Ripper, which means, I don't know, I wonder if it's because that stuff's Forge World. It seems to be being run by the same people that brought you Warhammer 30k, which is just completely like random. I swear they just sit in the box, just roll that shiny new D16 and figure out who to release in the next 3 months. And let's have.
Then, like you say, like they haven't given us a model for Cheney or Bryce, and they came out in the necromantic spite. So do they have to give us models if they did a Spike Star Player magazine?
Actually, that is a reasonable point. That's a fair point.
And in 2016, how many models did we have for Star Players?
Oh, 5?
Like 5? Yeah. So I mean, they don't. If they didn't exist for the old rule set, there's nothing to say that they necessarily can't revisit that sort of trend.
It doesn't feel like a very Games Workshop thing to do at the moment, though.
Promise the world, and
Well, I don't know. They just seem to be kind of control with all of their games, kind of controlling the rules flow to match up with miniatures that they actually build, they actually provide, they actually sell.
That's fair. That's fair.
That said, Cheney is probably one of the most popular stars out there at the moment, and there is no model for him, but I think RNE Studio are doing very well on their sales. And I think Punga's star players are pretty good as well. I hadn't considered Punga's star players, actually, for Wilhelm. I don't know.
Or Bonehead Bowl, I think.
Was there?
I can't remember if there was a Punga one, but we had the Khemri team running Wilhelm.
Oh, that Khemri team was real nice. That Khemri team was really nice. We'll talk about that in a bit. You're quite right, Ben. Okay, dokie. So, news-wise, we've covered that. We've covered Games Workshop. There is a very cool Grebo Kickstarter coming up as well. I got a box of goodies this weekend. Let's see if I've got it up here. Do I have it here? The Kickstarter from Grebo. It is there. It's another one of the Cutimals range. Control paste. Let's bring that one up here. Put it on the screen. Have you guys seen this stuff coming through from Grebo?
Yeah, it's scary.
There we go. Can I get that up there? Oh, I've accidentally reported the page. That's not what you want to do. Yeah, sorry, Alessio. Flagged it up as spam. So it's a weird concept. It is lemurs. So the Cutimals range are like, they've got like the penguin Norse guys, they've got the little chaos bunny rabbits and things like that. They are very cool. And Tiff loves the Cutimals ranges. So it's really cool to see these come out. Although I feel like the ones I've got slightly different hats. That's interesting. That is interesting. Anyway, they are very cool. They are very stylized. They are not like the most Blood Bowl-y miniatures, but Grebo sculpting is fantastic, and their printing / casting, the way they do Grebo, the Greeblood, is just absolutely amazing. So the models are so cool. I'm really impressed. By now, there should be a video of our preview where we can look at the models, look and see what some of the teams you can build. But the pump wagons are amazing. Like, they're just ridiculous. They're just like these weird little carts that are being driven by these lemurs and pushed around. Like, and there's literally guys like running on the side of the wheel, inside the wheel to power them. It's really cool. I'm really excited to see how well it does, because this is, I think, their best Cutimals team. It's definitely a lot more cute than the other ones. Like, some of the other ones get a bit gribbly, don't they? Like, Tiff's looked at some of them and she's like, oh, that's cute. Then looks again and she's like, oh, it's really not. But with the exception of the monkey going full moon, they're actually really, really standard cute miniatures. And I don't know, it's cool. I'm always excited by a Grebo release, and this is about up there. Don't know what the prices are going to be yet, because they haven't got the Kickstarter brewed up. It might be live by now when the podcast goes out, but when we got the preview miniatures, we didn't have like their breakdown of the tiers or anything like that. But there's kind of two teams in there. There's the little lemur guys and there's the chimps. So I think there'll probably be a couple of different pledges for basically snotlings, halflings level, and like goblins and wood elves and things like that. There's a ton of teams. Really impressed with them, and I've nearly started painting them, as in the same as everything. I've got them primed brown. Build it, prime it, move on to the next team, which is a little bit sad. So we've got those as well, and then there's a little tournament news as well. SandBowl is coming up on the 24th of July. Milton, I don't think Rob's finished taking submissions yet, has he?
I don't think so. No, I think there's still some spaces left.
Cool. So yeah, this podcast is going live on the 10th. So it's in 2 weeks' time as this airs. If you're not coming along, genuinely consider it. There's a really cool bunch. There's a bunch of guys who went to Bonehead Bowl, including most of us. Unfortunately, Sam is working. We're going to be travelling across the world to the Isle of Wight, to Milton's hometown, and playing some Blood Bowl. Not running an event, just genuinely there to play and have a good time, and it's going to be really cool. So if you are anywhere near somewhere where you can get to the Isle of Wight, I know it's expensive to go to the Isle of Wight in theory, but I don't know. I think it'll be pretty fun. If there's a few of you going, you can kind of split the cost, and it's not too bad. And it's always nice to have a bit of an adventure. So yeah, mooch on down to that. Let Rob know. I've got the link in the show notes. Then our next tournament is going to be the 6th of November. It is called the Bonehead Bowl. We haven't quite decided whether it's going to be 11s or 7s yet. And there will be something explosive in there, whether it's bombardiers or wizards or something. There will be explosions. There will be carnage. We will get the rules set up soon, but put that in your diaries because hopefully there will be no COVID restrictions. So this time, the tournament was limited to 24 people. Not going to be limited, okay? And I'm basically thinking that you can probably fit like 40 people in there. So it's going to be a very good event. And it's November, so it won't be like sweaty hot like our last overstacked tournament. So yeah, that's going to be an tournament in Poole, which is a lot easier to get to than the Isle of Wight. So if you're not going to come see us at the Isle of Wight, come down to Poole in November. And then if you can't make either of those, 2-day tournament in February in Beachhead. 11s on the Saturday, Sunday is 7s. The events combine. If you can only go to one, that's fine. But if you go to both, there will be extra prizes. It's going to be a massive event. Already started brewing up prizes and stuff. Already got dice on the way, or at least some tester dice from Mocco, which is cool. It's going to be really good fun. So this is like tournaments are back, and we are. I don't know. I had a great time at Bonehead, and I am now proper juiced up for tournaments. Because it was just awesome fun. Awesome.
Yeah, it's like one of my favourite environments is a Blood Bowl tournament. I just think it's really great. Yeah, I never thought I'd be like competitive. I enjoyed the competitive scene before like actually trying out Blood Bowl tournaments, and it's like one of my favourite things now.
It's really, really, really good fun. Right, that wraps up news. We're going to bounce to hobby, and then we'll go into depth on tournaments. Okay, so hobby time, and normally, like when there's a tournament, I spend the Friday night before painting things, and I didn't have to this time, which was wonderful. So let's move the shame wagon around here. So who wants to confess first to tournament last minute hobby? Ooh,
I was definitely guilty
there you
of that.
go. Yes, nice job, Milton. So what's been on the painting table for you?
Well, I think I discussed it last time I was here on the podcast. I ran Helmet Wolf in the tournament, and I made an orc version called Elmet de Wolf. I ran out of time paying him. It was very lastminute.com. I got some base colours on him. There were more than 3 colours on him. So that was definitely my shame. But today I built the Black Orc team and a trained troll, and I am very excited to get them on the tabletop.
What do you think to the Black Orc team?
Oh, they're superb. I wasn't really quite sure about them, but having actually got them in my hands and having gone through and built them, I just think they're like the best sprue I've had of any Blood Bowl team, to be honest. Like the variety with the head swaps, like every single mini in the box is unique. I don't think I've had that from any of my other teams. No, the orc ones have got double sculpts. The
orc
ones. The undead have got double sculpts. Lizards have double sculpts.
Everything.
Everything does, yeah. So actually, I think this is definitely the first from Games Workshop that has had like a completely unique across the board, which is cool, really cool. And they're nice, chunky models, and they've come together really nicely. There's loads of personality. There's a couple of fiddly bits with it, like one of the goblins is kind of like on his fingers
Oh,
and
that one
toes.
does my
Yeah,
head
that
in.
one's- oh.
That was a bit of a pain.
I mean, I guess the
And-
proper thing to do is plastic cement, like polystyrene cement him to the plastic base. But
Yeah, that's what I've done.
yeah, I don't know. I tend to base stuff first, especially when there's like points of contact. You don't want those fingers to be basically underground, which is what would happen if you
No.
like glued his fingers to the base and then put like PVA and stuff on it. It would just look like he was
sand and
in
stuff
the-
around it. Yeah, so it's kind of like in the ground. But I'll probably put snow and stuff over the top of it anyway, so I'm not
No.
too worried about that. But
That'll be.
the other bit was like one of the Black Orcs, his hand is like free floating, and it doesn't like kind of push into a joint. You kind of just have to like sort of line it up with the muscle structure. That was a bit of an odd one because like everything else is pretty much push fit. You know, it kind of like goes into a groove, and just like this one random one has like a floating hand. And then I put the troll together. I've put a troll together before, but I mean that's a fiddly little kit.
I still
Is this
haven't
the-
built that troll.
Is this the one with the ankle where he's?
Oh, the ankle is just.
Yeah, the one that came with the box set, I screwed it up big time. Like, there's so much dried poly cement on his
Yeah,
ankle.
I did exactly the same thing, Sam, when I built my first one of those. I kind of had a heads up on this one, but even though I had that, it still drove me a bit insane.
Yeah, I think I ended up getting rid because he's got like a bear trap around his wrist or something. Is it?
No, it's
Yeah.
around it's around his ankle.
Around his
and
ankle. Sorry, yeah.
It's to join it up, isn't it? So
Yeah, I think I ended up just chucking it away and gluing the foot to the bottom of the leg.
yeah. No, I did the same thing the first time round, and then I like cut it and glued it back on. It was just a mess, absolute mess. It's a fiddly kit. I mean, it looks great once you got to do it all together, but having put together the Black Orcs and been like, oh, this is the breeze, lovely. He really trolled me.
Awful. No, I don't actually like that troll though very much. You know me, I'm a big fan of trying to find big guys in other ways. Oh, it's no longer available on the website, which is interesting. I can only assume that's. Oh, I can see the little barefoot thing now.
Yeah. On the foot that's on the ground, not the one.
Yeah, on the foot on his ground, that foot is separate, entirely separate, and that little ankle thing is separate. And you put the ankle thing in order to connect the two together, which is so fiddly.
If you do what I did, where I assembled the entire troll, and then glued the foot to the base, and then tried to glue the troll to the foot, and it was just too heavy. It was having none of it.
Oh man.
Oh man.
Dear. Yeah, it's So what do you prefer then? If you don't like that one, what would you go for? The Forge World one?
Troll wise, the Rockgut Troggoths are just
Okay. Yes, you'd just get an AOS.
They're just the best,
River
man.
Troll. Yeah, Rockgut. Yeah, they are cool. Cool, very cool.
I actually really like the new Punga ones for the Snotling team. That's the STL files. They're like kind of
Like a river troll.
water inspired. They work. I really like those for like the river trolls. Yeah, they kind of look like those, but Punga have their own sculpts for it. I just think they look like proper Blood Bowl. They really nailed those. Definitely be adding some of them into a troll team.
I do like the
Yeah,
Punga.
no, those are cool.
I do like the Punga ones, but I don't know, man. The Rockguts are just perfect. I mean,
They have a lot of options, don't they? And they have a lot of personality.
I've
Yeah.
got your two actually, Milton, that you discarded, and those are the ones I ended up using for my Snotling team.
Yeah, I've still got one for my Underworld team. At the time, I didn't really need those other two, and you said you needed them, so I was kind of like, well, it's fair.
Well, now you need a Rat Ogre for the Underworld team, apparently, as that seems to
I've
be
got one of those too.
that seems to be the top tier choice these days. Underworld with a Rat Ogre, a million Snotlings, and Hagflem. That seems to be very popular.
That's the other hobby I've got to start, which is we are going to do a garden stunty league, and I'm going to run Underworld no Skaven, except for you can choose the Rat Ogre as a big guy. So I need to get cracking with those as well.
That sounds brilliant.
And I'm also thinking about whether I make a Norse or a Khorne team. So I've got a lot going on.
So maybe you don't want Games Workshop to release another team anytime soon, as you got the Black Orcs and some other homebrew stuff on the go.
I don't know. Like, I think even if they were to like release a team of legends, or I think the only thing that they could release that I might just like go straight for would be a Savage Orc team. Which is not impossible because there was one in the app along with Nobility, and obviously we've seen Nobility. And I believe we've discussed in the past that they could be a Khorne kind of replacement with the Frenzy, and
that is something I could see them potentially doing. If they take the Khorne team with that amount of Frenzy and replace it with the Savage Orc team, and then do a Khorne team more in line with Chaos Chosen and Nurgle, and then they could do a series of Chaos God Chaos teams with the Warriors and the Pestigors and stuff like that. I could see them doing that, and I think that Savage Orcs would be awesome. I really do think that would be brilliant, and it would kind of fix the Bloodthirster problem, which is that guy is great, but potentially like playing Kill Team with a Reaver Titan. But on the Blood Bowl pitch, I mean, Sam, you're a bit of a well, you and Ben are both frenzy heads. Although, did you see? Was it Adam? Or it wasn't Gary. I think it might have been Adam at the tournament who had the Khorne tattoo, or scarification.
No.
Awesome.
Was he the chap that was running the Khorne team?
No, that was Gary. There was
okay.
I think it might have been Adam who played against him. Yeah, he's got like a little Khorne scar tattoo on his arm, which I thought was so. It was, there was serious commitment. Yeah, it was like a proper Khorne off. It was wicked. So, so Sam, what's on the table for you at the moment, man? What have you been painting?
The table is totally clear at the moment because I was busy rushing everything to get finished for Bonehead Bowl. So I finished my trolls in a very hurried fashion. So that's the one there.
Yeah.
If you can make it out.
These look fantastic. Team was awesome on the day, Sam. That work seriously paid off.
Yeah, I mean, I finished the rest of the team months ago, and then just kind of lost. So I was testing out some wet blending on the trolls, and it frustrated me no end. I couldn't get it right, and I ended up in a tantrum, chucking them in their box and leaving them in the cupboard and moving on to something else. And then when it was when Bonehead Bowl was real, it was like, oh, I've got a week left. So let's get them painted. But yeah, that week was basically from scratch, painting both the trolls, and then
nothing's more motivating than the week before a tourney. That's for sure.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I gave up on my mission of getting wet blending down. I was just like, let's finish them, please.
But the thing is, unless you're doing,
thankfully you finish them. Like, does it feel good to have that done so you don't have to revisit it now?
Yeah.
But you can revisit it, and this is what I think this is probably a lie I tell myself is right. Let's get the basic paint job done, and then when I'm feeling fancy, I can go back and add the 7 layers of highlights and do the cool blending stuff. / just build and prime another team brown and then get distracted. Which I feel like is the trademark. But no, man, the team looked absolutely fantastic. So if you got like open hobby space now, Sam?
I wouldn't call it open. I mean, I've got 2 gyrocopters that are built and not painted for no army in particular. I've got my giant to finish. I've got the Star Wars stuff, the Lord of the Rings stuff. It's just, please don't talk to me about what I've got to do next.
That's good. That's good. Good. I don't want you feeling too good about yourself. Being like, boom, got this team painted. I mean, Milton's got 7 teams on the go. At least you've got 7 games worth of stuff on the go, and that's without even mentioning the Warmaster stuff. Or is Lee taking care of all the Warmaster stuff?
He has printed it all, so I need when we meet up. I think we're going to have a grey plastic battle, and then I'll take my army away with me and never paint it.
Yeah, I think contrast works pretty well on small scale stuff.
I think so.
That'll be fine. Or
I mean, for like the 40 iron breakers, I'm just going to spray them silver and dip them in known oil.
Yeah.
Job done.
Oh, I love small scale gaming. It's so good. That works for small scale stuff. Small tanks and spaceships is just awesome. I love it so much. Right, BT, circled round to you, man. How
Speaking of small scale, I'm just clipping away some lines on my Bretonians.
Yes.
So that these two were like, these two have been talking about them, and like we just said, Sam and his brother have been printing out loads of stuff for Warmaster. I wanted to revive the printer, and I thought, you know what, I'll revive it with something that's pretty easy to print, because I was talking to your brother Lee at the tournament and saying it was just easily just like non-stop, and I'm just like, that sounds like an easy print, and because you don't have to do anything to these. So I printed out some horses.
It's
I've got more in the printer at the moment. Yeah,
and the
I was playing Vermintide at the
Oh.
weekend, and I got the Grail Knight for Marcus Kruber, and I was just like, I want to live out the Bretonian fantasy, so I got so I'll probably at some point paint up these. In the meantime, still working on Necrons. That's going to be my hobby update for the next like 50 years. Painting up a Necron.
What is it? 3,000, 4,000 points all in?
So 4,500 points, yeah. Over the course of about 6 months.
You've done very well so far.
Yeah, hopefully. It's sort of getting into the rhythm of it now. I've got the order of things to do. I've got the plan on my wall behind the computer. And it's all going to plan, so it's fine. It's just sometimes I want to paint my own thing. So I've ordered a few things that I might take a little break out of the commission just to do something for myself, along with these horses, which, I mean, won't take too long either. Just shove different colours on the horses, on the horse bardings, and probably job done. So yeah,
small scale stuff.
Yeah,
paints up so quick.
Sorry, Sam?
Have you got a deadline for this commission?
I gave a rough time frame of 6 months, but like it's kind of ahead of schedule at the moment. I think the person it's for said they wanted to do like an apocalypse game at Christmas, so basically by Christmas. Yeah.
Cool. Is it easier to do when like there's a deadline, and especially because the deadline's not for yourself, really?
Maybe that's the difference.
I've set a
when it's somebody else's.
Yeah, what I've done is I've set a weekly update. So on each Monday I give a Monday update, and that encourages me to have something done by Monday. So
busy Sunday night.
So sort of a soft deadline is a soft week deadline to just do something and to update. Yeah.
Maybe we should do that. Set up like a Monday update, and if there's nothing done, then there's a forfeit.
Get it in for Whip Wednesday. Get it in for Whip Wednesday. That'll be justice.
Very true.
I always forget.
Yeah.
Cool.
I haven't painted anything.
Well, so my hobby table has been cleared and reset. I've taken this time to sort out a bunch of stuff and reset the studio as well. One thing I have got is a Warplock Minis Tree Man, who is a big boy. I've printed a couple of these guys off. So Warplock Minis do Ark World. They also do 10mm halflings, which is quite fun. And along with that, they did some random 32mm treemen. And I was like, well, they look absolutely prime for Blood Bowl. And let me tell you, they are prime for Blood Bowl. So I've got them, and now they are primed for Blood Bowl. So ready to go. Got the last few Snotlings ready to be the Riotous rookies for the Snotling team for the Bonehead Championship. And now I've got these Grebo minis that I am just going to paint. Like, I don't even care whether I run them or not. I just want to paint something fun, a bit of a palette cleanser. And then, as we said, it's 2 weeks now when the podcast comes out to the tournament. And as we'll talk about shortly, I have no idea what roster to run. I imagine that there is going to be some tournament painting. Might have to jump on and do a hobby stream just to get it done. Because I've got no idea what roster to do. I'm in a lucky spot where, because we do so much sevens stuff, I've got like a bunch of sevens teams. So if I want to take one of those, I'm only gonna have to paint like 5 guys, which is a bit of a boon. But I've no idea what I'm going to take. So my hobby is just pending right now, and that is potentially quite scary, but still good fun. And then
the motivation will come. There'll be something which is like, that needs, I really want to or have to get that done, and that's always the bits which seize for me, at least.
I know that I'm going to have to paint at least one star player because of the way that the Isle of Wight SandBowl is built. That you have to take a star, so I will have to paint at least one dude, no matter what team I take. And that's quite fun because, I mean, there's loads of great Patreons out there for Blood Bowl. There's loads of good STLs, even if I have to get the RNE stuff and support it myself, which never goes well. There's that. And I got two trays worth of high elves off the printer as well in 10mm scale, just because, I don't know, something different happened.
Why not?
Yeah, definitely. Right, I think we've done the walk of shame when it comes to hobby, and pretty good progress. So, shall we talk about Bonehead Bowl? Shall we go for it?
Let's do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, we'll take a quick break and we'll be right back. And we're back. So last weekend we had our first tournament of the year. In fact, first tournament for 9 months since we somehow managed to sneak in a Mega Bowl in October, which kind of feels a bit surreal. Absolutely chuffed with the turnout. We were capped due to COVID numbers, due to social distancing. So we had capped it at 24. A couple of guys dropped out before, and we did manage to have a couple of people lined up as well. As it got to the day, we ended up with 18 players out of 24 being able to make it. We had several people isolating, and several people just got hit with real world stuff, which always happens. They always say 10% of a tournament drops out, so that's 3. And then we had another 3 kind of COVID isolation stuff, which is very responsible of everybody to do that, so that's pretty decent. So you end up with 18 coaches, and you know what, that was absolutely brilliant. So we had 9 tables of Blood Bowl. We were at Entoyment, and Entoyment is a fantastic venue. They had all the tables spaced out. They had barriers in between each table as well. And it was just fantastic to be back in a tournament setting. And because we had an uneven number, Ben got dragged into playing as well. Milton came across from the island, ended up going solo because Rob couldn't make it. Rob's the guy who's running SandBowl. And Sam came down with his brother. Came left with his brother. And got on the Blood Bowl train as well. We got to play with a bunch of cool guys that we'd seen in some of our other tournaments. We had a bunch of tournament winners there, and it was really cool to see everybody and to just be back in Tournament land. So I figured what we'd do is we just talk about the rosters, talk about the outcome, and just talk about how good it was to be back in a tournament setting. So I think it's only fair that we start with our honorary foreigner of the episode, Milton. What was your roster for the Bonehead Bowl?
So I brought my orcs, my typical orcs. Well, they weren't quite typical this time because, as I mentioned earlier, I brought Helmet Wolf as a star player instead of a troll or a reroll and an extra lineman. So I dropped down from my usual 3 rerolls and an extra guy to 2 rerolls and Helmet Wolf. And it was good.
What we got?
Didn't necessarily play out the way that I thought it was going to, but I had 3 great games. So,
I mean,
do you want me to go through the games now? Or?
Yeah, let's do it. So who did you have in the first round?
So I played against Richard Saxby, who's one of our local club members. He was playing Khemri. His brilliant team, the New Forest Chemtrees, which are like tree man based Khemri team. That was a funny game. So Helmet was my absolute MVP in that. Off the bat, he was chopping trees down like you can imagine. That's what that chainsaw was there for, and he was lumberjacking his way through Richard's team. I think he had 3 casualties in the first 3 or 4 turns.
Oh, that's horrific.
Which is pretty good going.
We had a pretty...
That was
pretty good turnout with 2
fun,
different Khemri rosters of the day. But you went
that was
man to man
actually.
with the full strength whack of the 4 Tomb Guardians. Did you end up winning that one or drawing that one in the end?
No, that was a draw. It was bizarre. I mean, we spent the whole game in Richard's half. I mean, I had the presence on the field, but every time I went for a go for it or needed to do a dodge, I failed it. Rerolled, failed it every single time. go for it. I had two. Well, they're called rushes now, aren't they? Two rushes towards the end zone to score. Failed them. Reroll. Failed them. And then poor old Richard kept getting double skulls. I think he got 4 or 5 double skulls.
I did hear the double skulls like shouts go up.
And so we weren't really getting anywhere. It was kind of just back and forth, back and forth. Each turn was just as crazy as the next, but it was really good fun. Like it was so unexpected, and I was just so happy to get Helmet, like chopping people down. That just made me smile. That's all I wanted.
I'll tell you what we'll do is we'll bounce to Sam. We'll all do round 1, and then we'll just go through the rounds real quick. So Sam, your roster. I genuinely, even though I printed out your team sheet for the pack and everything, genuinely thought you were running Khorne. I have no idea why. I assume it's because I call you Sam Frenzy Garner. But it wasn't Khorne. It was quite the opposite. So what was your roster on the day?
It was goblins on the day. I basically took everything that you can take, bar the hooligan. I think that covers it. The roster.
I think that's about right. Yeah.
1.1 million, took 2 bribes, 3 re-rolls, and then everything under the sun, except for the hooligan, who I think is massively overpriced for what he does.
I like the hooligan, but only if you've got a lot of guard, because where guard helps with fouling, that dirty player and sneaky git works out really well. But if you don't have a lot of guard, then it's kind of its own thing, like it's its own secret weapon. But yeah, if you've got guard, it's awesome.
But yeah, so you want me to go into my first match?
Yeah, hit it up, man. I think
so. I played. Was it Wayne, the chap who ended up?
Yeah,
is that it there?
That is it.
There, isn't it?
Yeah. First round was against Underworld.
Underworld, that's right. Yeah.
Wayne was our Beachhead champion from last year, with the 4 big guy roster. Last year, year before. Yeah, last year.
It was 2020.
Yeah. Thank you. I don't know anymore. It was pre-snap anyway, wasn't it?
It was.
So how was the round, Sam?
It was really tough. I won the toss and chose to receive, I think, or he won the toss and kicked me. Either way, I received, and I was planning on stretching it out to make the most out of my weapons and stuff because he's got a lot of low armor players. But he put so much pressure on so early that I had to just go for the throw teammate. I scored in turn 2 or 3, I think it was. Turn 3. And then spent basically 14 turns just defending. I ended up slipping and losing 2-1. But it was, I think I casualtied his Rat Ogre fairly early.
Nice.
I ended up on a positive on casualties, to be honest.
That doesn't surprise me with your team.
Yeah.
Running up against those guys. So, what skill do you give the trolls?
Trolls both had grab.
What did you reckon to it? Did it work out all right?
A couple of times. So the plan was the trolls would use grab to put people in the way of the fanatic.
Oh, nice.
And give him stuff to block. That never came up, ever. But it was helpful. First of all, to be able to position players where I wanted them. And second of all, because Snotlings being able to sidestep. Just cancel that out.
I really do
Which
think...
again, that wasn't even part of the plan, but it just worked out that way.
Ooh, 5 casualties that round, actually, Sam.
Yeah, it was. I think it was a Rat Ogre and then 4 Snotlings, but yeah.
Hey, as the memes say, winning's winning, whether it's by an inch or a mile. #family. So no, that's good. Getting the casualties in, whether it's a Snotling or a Rat Ogre. Dom approves. No, that's wicked. A tough gig as well. Defending against Underworld when they're running the Gutter Runner and Hack Phlegm, they're always a 2+ or 3+ away from a touchdown. It doesn't even matter.
That's it.
It
was just yeah. And so I think he injured my. No, that happened in the 3rd game. But yeah, my weapons were pretty much out of commission fairly early. And the bomber did nothing really in the first match.
Missing Hail Mary. That's such a sad nerf, that one, to be losing Hail Mary.
I took pass and it was good. It was hot, and I don't think I only must have failed maybe 2 or 3 passes in the whole tournament. So I'll take that.
I like it. So first round, missed out there. BT. subbing in at the last minute. What team did you bring to the day, and how was your first very bloody Blood Tithe round?
So I did bring Khorne.
Yeah.
I was one of 2 Khorne teams on the day. I whipped up the roster, just thinking I'd say I'll have this, just stand in if we need even numbers, and yeah, fortunately for me it did, because I got to play. And yeah, no, I freaking love this team. I was running the Bloodthirster 3 Bloodletter build with it, with 2 rerolls, which is quite risky with Khorne, but it gives you a lot of punch and a lot of reliability with the Bloodletters, because they're my ball carriers. So yeah, I got matched up against Dave with Dark Elves in the first round, and yeah, this was pretty bloody. I was like, hey Dave, great, we're playing against each other, take a seat. And first turn, two Dark Elves dead. Second turn, another 2 dead. My Khorne team was just like mincing these Dark Elves up, and getting 4 early casualties in the first 2 turns really did help swing the game.
Yeah,
ended up being a 2-0 win.
It was
quite
brutal
back as well. He got a couple casualties back as well really early. I think also his first turn got a casualty. So I think in the first 2 turns there were 5 players casualtied.
Now Dan's played Dark Elves forever. Like he knows Dark Elves. And I came over and you had like 5 of his guys off the pitch. He was literally like barely running a 7s team, and he was like, "No, I'm gonna play to my outs. Like I've got an angle here. I don't need anything more than that."
He did. Yeah, sorry, I said 2-0. It was 2-1 because I remember he was very, very nearly a draw. He was playing 6 players against 9, I think, for most of the game, or 6 against 10.
And one of those was at least the Bloodthirster.
Yeah, he did extremely well. Was a really close game. But yeah, it was still a very good game. And Khorne, the frenzy was in my favour, which is always nice when playing Khorne, because it can very much be the other way around.
You did run a couple of guard as well, and the block with the double on the Bloodthirster probably didn't.
Yeah.
Hang about.
I did come up. I did forget it and burn through one of my loner rerolls, and then remembered I had it, so I took the both down.
I was going to say, I think I remember coming over and you were like, "Oh no, both down." And I was like, "Doesn't he have Juggernaut?"
Yeah.
I didn't realise he actually just had block.
Yeah.
He just had block. You could have just punched the dude to the ground. Oh, that's wicked.
Yeah.
No, it was very cool to see the Khorne team. I was chuffed to see 2 Khorne teams, actually. 2 Khorne teams and 2 Tomb Kings. Like, it was nice to see some pretty fringe playable teams actually out there. And yeah, going into the end, like after the scores of the first round, we had Lee destroying his opponent with his ogre roster, somehow swinging it back against Khorne. Actually, that Khorne team got a Bloodthirster touchdown, which was awesome to see. I wandered over and Lee's opponent was just like, you know what, I think that was Gary actually. He was just like, I'm just gonna go for it. I declare a blitz on Griff. I'm not even gonna bother. And wandered over and just freeballed the 5+ to pick up the ball and just ran it in. It was awesome. So I kind of walked away from that table thinking, oh, that's tough, Lee. That's tough. And next thing I know, he's won 2-1. Smashing some face in there. That was a tough sitch for Gary, but no, it was cool. Like going into the first round, we're like, Khemri are doing great, Khorne are doing great, ogres are doing great. This is really interesting. Then round 2 is when it kind of plateaued a bit. So Milton, well, I'll tell you what, Milton, who did you play in round 2?
Oh well, I played Sam.
Yeah.
So
let me see if
this was a very interesting game. So, spoiler, right? I think, and I discussed this earlier about how I basically only got some base colours down on a helmet. I think the amount of paint I put on him was exactly the amount of juice he had to play the games, because I got to play with him in round 1, and I did not get to play with him in round 2 or 3, because for the very first turn of round 1, Sam managed to rush his ball and chain off the line twice and casualty helmet, who was 5 squares away.
Just whipped straight through.
He sat the game out from turn 1, which
that's
kind of
cunning tactics.
I was kind of relying on him being able to take out either the ball and chain guy or the trolls or something that was just kind of in the way, or just maybe just to go around and hack down some goblins to sort of like lower the numbers. But yeah, it all kind of like trickled from there. Well, the outcome is Sam absolutely destroyed me. It's by far the most brutal game the Monstars have ever suffered. I think I had 7, was it, in the casualty box at the end? 3 of them were big uns.
Yeah.
I had 3 in the knockout. I think there were like 2 players left.
I did swing by and I wondered what the heck had happened. It was just a goblin team.
I think Sam, like, and the thing is like, I don't even think I rolled particularly badly, so I can't even be mad about it. I think Sam just rolled phenomenally. Like there wasn't hardly a single D6 that he rolled in that game that wasn't a 6 or a 5. I mean, he was rolling 11s or 12s like pretty consistently throughout the entire thing. It must have been in the like 70%, if not like the high 60s. Every single thing was an armor break, and that either a stun or a knockout or a Kaz, and it just kept going and going and going. And I could not get traction. I had like nothing to play with. And obviously goblins, yeah, okay, you've got the low armor and everything, but there's a lot of them. And then he scores on his turn 8. Obviously, my turn 8's about to come up, and I'm like, okay, great, he's going to lose his secret weapons. And he rolled 2 6s on the
argue the call.
And then he used a bribe to get, and managed to get both of them, so he kept all 3 of his secret weapons through the whole game.
Oh, that's absolutely brutal.
Yeah, it was absolutely crazy. But to be fair, like Sam played those goblins extraordinarily well. You know, he maximized on every potential, outcome with them. And he went hard on the Kaz, like really hard on the Kaz. Yeah. It got to a point where I was like looking at him. I was like, "What are you doing, Sam?" And I was like, "Why aren't you scoring?" I think it was like turn 2 in the second half, and I was like, You can pretty much just farm touchdowns at this point. I've got 3 guys left. They're slow, and I can't really do anything about your goblins." And he was like, "Nah, I'm going to murder them all." I was like, okay.
Yeah, I walked past the table, and Sam was basically biting Milton's neck as a show of dominance.
Yeah, it was a good game, though. Like, it was an interesting game. Like I say, I was like Sam. Really, really off foot from the beginning.
Rebuttal.
So I wasn't trying to pitch clear you, and I wasn't, just waiting out the clock so that I could pitch clear you. And basically, my worry was I'd used both of my bribes, and I wasn't going to be able to argue the call anymore. I didn't think, so I knew that I'd lose all my weapons, and then kick off to you, and probably just have to struggle to dislodge the ball after that. Even if you couldn't score, I figured I'd rather keep the weapons on the pitch and get some more casualties rather than just stalemate to a 2-0 win.
That seems fair.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Although I still believe that. Like, I mean, I had a couple in the knockout, so yeah, I could have fielded 6 players if I'd managed to get everything back.
I think so, yeah.
But to be fair, only one of them was a big one, and like, 2 of them were blitzers. So it was like I was pretty much out of like most of my positionals. And yeah, actually, the interesting thing about Helmet is like he's not an expensive star player, but he was, like I say, he was traded out for like effectively like either a troll or another lineman and a reroll.
I mean, he's big guy price. He's the same price as an ogre, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly. And so like losing him on the first round was a significant chunk of the team value and the particular play style I was going for. Which made it quite challenging, but I tried my best. But towards the end of it, I was just like standing up my big one and just 2-die uphill blocking his troll every single turn, and it worked, didn't it?
Yeah.
I don't think there was a single at that point where I kind of gone right. Well, I'm gonna have none of this. I was getting up. I was smacking that troll down every single time.
So Sam, you did pretty well against Underworld in the first round, then pulled out a win against a tier 1 team, 2-0 and 7-1 on casualties? 7-2 on casualties.
So,
Yeah.
How are you feeling about the Goblins after game 2?
right off the bat, I knew that game was kind of like a freak of statistics. I wasn't too overconfident with them. Don't get me wrong, I was like flying high. I was like, I might come, top half of the table or something. This could be a steal. But I knew that the luck that I had against Milton wasn't typical. And I had no idea who I was playing next. So I was just preparing for the next round.
Yeah, of course. Scoring the 1 win and 1 loss puts you in the middle with you'd expect to see some unlucky tier 1 teams and some average tier 2 teams, which can be a bit rough for Goblins at that point. But BT, who was your round 2 match again?
I was up against my Bonehead tournament nemesis, Joe Solo. Every tournament
match.
Every tournament we've played in, I think we've played against each other. We always seem to get matched. And last time I faced him was in Beachhead 2020, running the same corn list, or a very similar corn list I was running last week. And in that game against him last time, he blitzed my Bloodthirster on turn 1 with Deep Root and killed him before I could even activate him. And so I was just like, right, I'm getting revenge. And I turn 1 blitzed his Khemri Tomb Guardian with my Bloodthirster and killed it.
Man.
Or I think I knocked it out for the whole game. And yeah, it was just an absolutely sweet moment. He was running Khemri with Wilhelm Chaney, 2 Tomb Guardians. So it was like a slightly less bash, but a little bit like the speed with Wilhelm was a bit of a threat, though I was able to take Wilhelm out fairly early as well. So with him Wilhelm down and a Tomb Guardian down off the bat, Khemri didn't really have what makes Khemri a real threat.
Yeah, that
and I was able to win that one 2-0.
Yeah, and
exactly.
I was feeling really good about Joe's list going into round 2. Joe normally plays stunty, and he normally plays for the lols, and will just chuck literally the biggest models you can fit on a Blood Bowl pitch on there. Like, I could see his game, I could see his game against Ben. I could see his models from the TO table in the big. Right, this was like 30 yards, and I could see his models. They were taller than me, and I saw his list, and I printed off the list and checked it all off. I didn't even notice, I didn't even comprehend the fact that he was not running all 4 Guardians, and he'd gone for that Cheney build. Then he 2-0'd Chaos Dwarves in the first round, and I was like, "Oh, we've got a sleeper hit here. Like this is big news, and we found a new bit of meta here." Actually, you know what? 2 big guys is pretty decent. Cheney is very good. Like this could be really something special. And then Ben just ruffle stomps him, and continues just this frenzy carnage. And to be fair, Joe's luck in the second round just stopped, and this is something that I think almost every table saw. It was really weird. First round, it felt like everybody had a fair amount of luck. Like nobody got stitched up. Everyone did what they were here to do. Didn't quite go to plan, but went well. I felt like in the first round, everybody was trading blows for blows. Like Sam traded a dude for a rat ogre, was happy with that. Milton just traded a chainsaw for some tree people, and then in round 2, I started hearing man, my dice are just absurd. Like Milton and Sam. Milton's was like, my dice are average, but we've got some James the Dwarf Lord dice on opposite me here, and then Wayne was just like, I cannot roll anything. I am just rolling 1s for days. Saxby was just rolling skulls for days, and Joe Solo just bless him, just his luck just dried up in round 2, and I remember at the end of it, Ben, you were like, "Oh, this is awkward. I've 2-0'd my own tournament now. This is." I don't like this.
I was only meant to fill in a gap, but
yeah,
now it's it's just one of those like I was saying before with Khorne, it really is a team that they're super oppressive and there's just nothing you can do against them, or they just punch themselves with the weight of dice. Sometimes it completely goes the other way. I've had games with Khorne which are just an absolute. I remember playing Undead in Beachhead, and got absolutely slaughtered because all of my frenzy dice were just into both downs, and that just messes you up. There's no real defense against it. I do remember Joe's Wilhelm match here didn't take him out. He blitzed one of my guys and rolled skulls into skulls, and he took himself out. So I do remember that happened.
That's just
again,
that's the
which is horrible. You hate to see it.
So Sam and Ben, you're both Goblin coaches and Khorne coaches. I feel like both those teams are kind of like, if it was just MTG, like they're combo. You know, they roll, if you roll hot, they are unstoppable. If you roll medium to garbage, they fall apart. I feel like they're actually quite similar teams in that regard. Whereas Milton with Undead and Orcs, they're very controlled. Like, you can play them safely. You can let your opponent do that. And I don't know, I guess Goblins and Khorne, because you roll a lot of dice, and if you roll 5s, 6s and pals, you are going to win massively. I feel like it's a win big or win big or lose big kind of team. Same as Goblins.
Yeah, super aggro.
Yeah, just all in. Really, really, really cool. So that led us to round 3. Now, round 3 was proper exciting from a TO point of view because we had 4 coaches all at 2-0. So only a 3-round tournament, but we had all 4 coaches right there were in for contention. So it was really straight away there. Now there were some coaches at 5 and 6, I think, who could win if the guys drew out or something. But it was really, there was 2 tables, table 1 and 2. Any one of those coach could have won the tournament. And that was really awesome to see. So Milton, where were you? Oh, you had another wobble match in round 3.
I did. Yeah, 3 wobblers.
Against Trips.
Yeah, I played Ian Triplo. Yeah. And his Lepraflings that he printed. His halfling team.
I love that team. He's done a really good job with them.
Yeah, it's a cool little team. It's very nice. It's come out really nicely, hasn't it? Yeah, that was an interesting game. Because he was running Carla and Rumblo. That's it, isn't it?
Carla and Rumblo.
As part of his roster. And so as I said earlier, I got a blitz, and I was like, I'm going to blitz one of the trees with helmet. Walked up to the tree, failed the armor roll. So he's now sat next to the tree. I was like, I haven't thought this through, have I? Next thing I know, tree casualties. First turn, tree casualties helmet. And I'm like sat there, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, well, I guess if you only paint your guy 1/3, he's only going to play 1/3 of the games. So it's really on me, isn't it?
I think when it comes to chainsaws and something like that, that again is another high risk, high reward thing. If that chainsaw had pulled off, you would have been dominating. If it doesn't work out, it leaves you really vulnerable. Like, it's a really fun gamble.
To be fair, I still murdered his team. I mean, like, by the end of it, there was 1 halfling and 2 trees, which are both rooted on the pitch. Everything else was in the Cas box. So
you did score 6 casualties in that match.
Yeah, it was. It kind of tumbled quite early for Ian. Like, he just got like 1 casualty after the other. It was the trees, really. They rooted pretty much consistently every single time. At least one of them rooted off the off. And then, I mean, it's difficult for me to get the orcs away, but if he punches one of them and he gets a double push, then that's it. I can just walk around him. And so that's what I did. And so I just smashed my way through his little leprechauns. Wasn't so lucky. I took Carla and Rumblo out, but I kind of had it in the back of my head that I wanted to, sort of as payback for Helmet. I think that was my game plan. Really I wasn't even bothered with scoring at that point. I was just like, I want to take his star players out. He's taken mine out.
Still
managed to achieve that.
Still managed to score the 2-0 there against the halflings.
So, do you know what though? Like, the entire time I played, I forgot that the star players now have special rules, their own unique rules.
Yeah.
and it completely slipped my mind. And I think it also passed Trips's mind as well, because reading through it earlier today, I was like, pretty sure there are several situations where we could have used these special rules and we didn't.
So Rumbelow gets basically Mighty Blow once a game when he knocks a dude down.
I'm pretty sure that Trips could have definitely used that.
Carla von Dudar gets to reroll Dauntless essentially, or triples their strength.
Helmet gets to basically
Pro?
Use Pro without Loner.
Helmet
so
uses pre-rolls a single part to reroll a single dice rolled as part of the armor roll. So you could have used it immediately to reroll against that tree at the start.
Yeah, I could have. Exactly that. I think that's probably a really important lesson to learn. Like, the stars are actually completely different in this version. They've got a completely different outlook, and we will come to this in a while. But I think that was my takeaway from the tournament, was I need to learn how to use the stars better. I need to learn how to position better. I need to work on all of that, and I had a fantastic day. All 3 of my games were brilliant fun. I got 1 win, 1 draw, 1 loss, which you can't complain about, really.
No, that's not bad at all.
Yeah.
So, Sam, you ended up being on table 4 in this game, and you ended up against Julian.
That's right, yeah.
Whiskey Mancer. Who was it? Was he Dark Hills?
No. Another Underworld.
Oh, yeah. Oh, of course, Julian, yes. The Portsmouth Game Shop.
That's the chap.
Managing guy. Yeah, really nice guy. Really nice guy.
In fact, what Milton just said about star players, you know what? I played both Underworld teams. Both took Hackflem. And I don't know what Hackflem's special once per game ability is, but no one used it.
Seriously, no one used it.
I think everyone forgot that star players had these one use only special abilities.
So Hackflems is awesome, and it's why I think he's in consideration all of the time for just being one of the best star players out there. If he starts his activation next to a player with the ball on a friendly team, he can knock that player down and just take the ball. No handoff, no nothing. Just you walk a dude over, stand him next to Hackflem. When Hackflem activates, that ball is his. Like, it's just basically an auto catch where you can even blitz a guy with the ball carrier, stand next to Hackflem, he just takes the ball. Like, it's amazing. So if that didn't even come up, that's just phenomenal that he's got that potential. Anyway, you had a cool Punga team to play against this time round. How did the game go?
So it was basically a repeat of round 1. Same kind of deal where I was pressured in. Yeah, so same team that I was against. I mean, there was a slightly different build, but I was again forced to throw teammate for a touchdown early, which I managed. So twice in one tournament, throw teammate touchdown. So I managed it in like turn 2 or 3. Same story, had to defend for 14 turns or so. But this time around, I'd apparently spent all of my luck points against Milton because I got very nearly pitch cleared. I had 2 goblins left at the end, no trolls. Lost 3-1 in the end.
Oh, yeah. Wow. And 5-2 on casualties as well.
Yeah.
The combo fell apart.
That's not to say that Julian didn't play well, because he played really well. But he did... So, right at the start, I think he cast my Chainsaw and my Fanatic in one turn, in the first turn. And he kind of looked at me and he was like, I'm sorry. And I was like, I'm going to stop you right there, because I just did the same thing in my last match to someone else. I know how it feels to be on both ends. Just play on and don't worry about my feelings.
And then he didn't.
He did not worry about my feelings. In fact, he seemed to be doing the exact opposite and deliberately trying to hurt them.
Oh man, that was brutal. So you ended up having a cheeky win, a close loss, and a big loss, which for goblins is pretty decent. Like a dominating win, a close game, and a fair loss. Like that's good. You piloted them beautifully. Now, casualties, you had a pretty decent run, but then so did Blood Tithe. Ben, you ended up in the last round playing against Wayne. And this is top table time here. Wayne is running these Underworld, and it is a win for it all kind of situation now.
Pretty much, yeah. Something we didn't know until the end was the other two who were also in the running for the win. They drew their game, so this game was kind of it. The deciding game, and this was hard. Wayne is a seriously good coach. He won Beachhead 2020, and you could tell he just plays this so precisely. He did exactly the thing against Khorne which you need to do with his Snotlings, which is just the Khorne blitz is insane. You get one thing that is good on a Khorne team is like half your players you're paying for a blitz, because most of their skills only come into on a blitz. He pretty much denied that. He just tagged all the key players with Snotlings, including the Bloodthirster. So like, there's just not much they can do except smack a Snotling, which then just sidestep, so he can guide the frenzy into ways that like he chooses where they end up. And yeah, it was he played my team. He moved my team around. There was very little I could actually do. I did take out his Rat Ogre, I believe. I think I actually took it out with not the Bloodthirster. I think it's one of the Heralds.
Nice.
Still strength 4 on a blitz. It's pretty good to get that on him.
You had a couple of guard boys in there as well, didn't you? So getting that strength 6 for a decent block. I mean, when you're frenzy, like that's a 4-die block at that point, isn't it? So that's a pretty good situation to be in. But man,
yeah, it wasn't the Rat Ogre that was the issue. It was those Snotlings, which I will add, he modelled them as little rats, and on an Underworld team, that's a fantastic idea.
I thought that was great as well. I really did.
Yeah.
I really did.
Good idea.
Yeah, I might have to rob that idea. But Snotlings are so fun. It's really difficult to choose, isn't it? Because Snotlings are just so fun. So
I think that's the thing that makes the Underworld roster really good in this edition. The Snotlings just add so much benefit.
And
to that
with
team.
Swarm, they're free.
Yeah,
they're just free. You're going to have 1 or 2 every drive to just. I mean, 15k against, how much is the BT now? 180?
Yeah.
Okay, so that Snotling tags that Bloodthirster. TVOP wise, it's just absolutely 12ing itself over, making that cash back. Team value on pitch. You're sacrificing the 12th player on your team that costs less than anything else in the game. And it's just nullifying a Bloodthirster. Like, that's just proper Blue Mage territory, isn't it? It's like, I play my Bloodthirster, and you're like, boom, activate my trap card. No go for you. Hello, Sam, I'd appreciate that one. Binge watching Yu-Gi-Oh! On Netflix. Right, so the game played out. You went toe-to-toe on the top table, basically, for the win. And what was the score in the end?
This was 2-0, I believe, to Underworld.
2-0. 6-0 on casualties, though, Ben. You smushed some face.
I think most of those Snotlings. Yeah, Hackflim really didn't do a lot in this game either. He wasn't the thing.
The thing is, he's only at 180k, so he's just an option. Like, you don't need to use Hackflem. The rest of the team's fine, but if you need to use Hackflem, it's right there. Speed 9, Edge 0+ all of the time. It's fantastic. So Wayne did win, and with his team, Scars and Stripes, the Underworld team, went and 3-0'd the tournament, winning the day. His roster, 1 Rat Ogre with Diving Tackle. Now that mixed in with Prehensile Tail, quite interesting. Did you guys come across that at all?
No, I didn't try and dodge.
I knocked the Rat Ogre out too early, I think.
No, definitely puts a target on himself with the Roger there. Gutter Runner with Block, so that's a blodging Gutter Runner. Thrower with Leader to get the 3rd reroll. Blitzer with Horns to give you a cheeky strength 4 blitz. One of the Skaven had Block as well, just to basically give you a 2nd blitzer. 3 Clan Rats all in. 1, 2 Goblins. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Snotlings, and Hackflem with 2 rerolls and a bribe as well, which is interesting.
It was the Horns Blitzer, I think, was the MVP for him.
Yeah.
That was along with the Snotlings, of course, and like the swarming and that. The Horns Blitzer was really did a lot of damage.
Cheeky
really
2 plus,
pick.
basically 2-die block any way you want. I'm a big fan of Skaven Blitzers, so I'm on board with this. It was a cool team. Now Wayne is he's a lovely guy and a heck of a coach. And now you've all played him at a Bonehead tournament, which is quite cool. You guys played him this time round, and Milton played him last. At Beachhead, didn't you, Milton?
Beachhead, yeah, in the second round.
That's a big old team. He had their 4 big guys, which I'm a big fan. Basically, Wayne, I love the choice of teams that Wayne goes for. I'm a big fan of his rosters, and it's really cool to see this. So I think we'll just blitz through the final standings as they were in the end. So Wayne topped with 3-0 at 98 points. Lunch Money came along, which was really cool to see. So Lunch Money is a big deal in the Blood Bowl world. Kind of a top NAF guy in the local area. He brought his Undead from 1988 Undead team and went to and draw. I went for a draw in the last round that popped him to second place. David Lyons with an absolutely gorgeous Necro team. Really cool roster there, basically running Wilhelm Chaney to do some great stuff. He went into that. He was the 4th player of the top 4 going in, and again tied himself out. Al got the most casualties with 16 all in on the day, so that includes fouls and surfing. We just wanted to make it nice and easy, so 16 removal from Lunch Money on the day. And Phil came in 4th with Dark Elves, taking the most touchdowns with 8 across the day. He went 2 and a draw there as well. I think he won his last round. Julian went 2 and a draw as well for 75 points with the Underworld team, causing 14 casualties on the day, which is pretty decent. Then BT came in 6th with Korn, 72 points, 2 and a draw, 12 casualties on the day. Then Dan, which was basically Blood Tie's first victim, came in 7th place again with Dark Elves, 2 and a draw, 6 TDs, pretty respectable. Logan Creedy, who had a heck of a match in his second round. Logan's a great coach and was running Lizards, really good Lizard build. Ended up being a really close fought second round. This could have cost Wayne the tournament, but lost it 1-0. Basically, him and Wayne both could not pick up the ball. And when you've got high speed offenses like Lizardman facing off against Underworld, it is whoever doesn't roll 1 the most. And basically, Wayne managed to pull that off against Logan. Logan did really well on the day, though, 68 points. Then Milton, just outside top 8, coming in with 51 points, 1-1-1 with the Orcs. And then the Stunty Cup went to Sam Frenzy Garner, winning a second Bonehead trophy, maybe third, knowing you, Sam. Doing a smashing job there, 42 points, 4 touchdowns, 4 and 14 casualties, 4. Really nice. And this one was really close because 1 point behind him was Lee Garner, who I've now named Lee Both Down Garner because of the way he plays his ogres. After playing against him with ogres, he's like, yeah, I'll just take the Both Down. Mighty Blow, that's 1 removal for me. Works for him. His team was awesome. The Griff Ogre-Wolds won his first round and performed very well all day long. 1 point behind Sam for the Stunty Cup. Wicked. And
I'll never let him live it down either. We have both vowed not to take stunties to the next tournament.
Ooh, that'll be
as
good.
Enjoyable as it was, we kind of want to.
You
Time to win.
Yeah,
you kind of overperformed with the stunties, both of you, which is good. Then we had Drew coming in 12th with the Bacon Street Irregulars. This team is beautifully put together and won the best team award. It's do I have a picture on the screen of this team? I'm sure if you guys are even tangentially involved in Blood Bowl, whether it's Facebook or whatever, you'll see he's done a bunch of converted teams. Really commits there. That was the Sherlock Holmes themed halfling team, which is pretty cool. So he won best team. Joe Solo with the Tomb Kings after a dominating first game with the 2 Guardians, and Cheney build had some awful luck in his second and third rounds and ended up going 1 and 2. Saxby, the other Tomb King team, came in 1 point behind Joe as well with 3 draws, which is an interesting one for him. He was the 4 Guardian build and just had average luck the entire day and went and performed and ended up with that cheeky 3 draws. Then Adam with the Elven Union team had a horrible time with casualties, -11. A bit of a kick in there. Avalanche played really well then. Then we had Killer Randall coming in 16th place with the Chaos Dwarves. He had a tough time of it. I don't think a lot of stuff played out right for Randall, but it did. Killer Randall is always pretty mighty. It did a lot of fouls though. And then Trips came in 17th with those halflings called the Lucky Leproflings. I don't think they were all that lucky. Suffered 16 casualties, giving him the Chocolate Armor Award. And then Gary came in 18th with the Participation Trophy and I think the Wrong Game Award, and did an awesome job. Now, the best thing, it was lovely to see Gary. I think he travelled quite a way, but he was there. And I'm sure he was there to play some Blood Bowl, but the entire day he was brewing up a Tzeentch team. And it was so cool. Like, in between each of his games, he was downstairs in Entoyment just browsing the shelves. And we had a good chat. He was like, right, I think I can use these guys as the familiars. What can I run as the Chaos Warriors for the Tzeentch team? Because it's just so cool. He's like, I watched the video and now I just really want to run this team. And I just absolutely loved it. I was like, Gary, you've travelled like 3 hours to come down here and build a Tzeentch team while smashing face with a Khorne team. It was wicked. Absolutely loved that. It was so good. It was so good. So we had a bunch of cool teams. We had 1 Necro, 2 Tomb King, a couple of Halfling builds, a couple of other stunty builds, a couple of Khorne, which was quite interesting, a couple of Dark Elves, but Underworld topping, 2 of those in the day. Underworld topping, Undead next, Necro next, Dark Elves 4th. So 2 Underworld in the top 8 there. And Khorne representing the outside teams with Mr. Bloodtithe. So top 8 was a pretty good bunch, and basically the teams you would kind of expect. It was great to see some tournaments. It was great to see coaches, and oh man, did you guys enjoy yourself on the day?
Very much.
Yeah, it was brilliant.
Yes,
and a huge thank you to Pete and the staff at Entoyment, because they've done a fantastic job there. Like you said earlier, with the separation and having the big window open and everything, and making the environment secure. And it's just a fantastic place to go. If you're into the hobby and you're into the area, definitely around the area at any point in time, go check it out.
I could not want to support Entoyment more than I do. If you're buying something online, go with Entoyment if you can. Just support them. They're a great place. They help us out with the show, but it's just the place is brilliant, and I want to see them grow and succeed because I always want them to be around. It's a really valuable resource. Anyway, guys, was there anything else on the tournament? I mean, the obvious thing in the room is the star players, but I think we'll talk about that in a minute. Anything else on the tournament that you guys want to talk about, or have we covered it all?
I think that's about it.
All right, fantastic. We'll take a quick break. We'll talk about the Isle of Wight nice and quick, then we'll wrap up with these star player tiers. Okay, as we're in a bit of tournament heat right now, as the world is starting to reopen, and hopefully we can do so safely, we've got a tournament coming up that we get to go to, which is the Isle of Wight SandBowl 3. It's in Milton's neck of the woods. Now he has emigrated to the Isle of Wight, and where it's really expensive to post things. It's like Australia and Isle of Wight are very similar when it comes to posting things. So, Isle of Wight, Saturday. Disparity. Saturday 24th. Big old day, 4 games. Interesting tournament build order here, and I kind of wanted to talk about that. What we're going to do is we're going to chat through the event, talk about some of the ideas of rosters, and then we're going to talk about the impact on star players. And the reason we're going to talk about the impact of star players is because star players can be taken as part of the starting 11 players, and every team must include at least 1 star player. This is their event after all. All NAF approved stars are permitted, i.e. all stars in the BB 2020 rulebook and subsequent Spike magazines, and Acorn is allowed as well, which I am super excited about. So it's 1200 TV. You have to take a star, and it can be in your starting 11, which does help out some teams. It's a 4-round day. And you get 1 skill before each round. So game 1 you got 1 skill, game 2 you got 2 skills, game 3 3, game 4 4. So it's a Bonehead Bowl was 4, 5 or 6 skills depending on your tier. This is only you're going to be spending most of the day with like 2 or 3 skills. It's really low value. So you kind of got to look at the stars for a build here. So 1200 TV. It's a pretty chunky roster size. I mean, I have no idea what to take. We've got 3 weeks. 2.5 weeks, and just spoilt by choice. I don't know what to take. I don't know whether to go stunty heavy and take on the chonky stars, go hack phlegm for the lols. I mean, Cheney's pretty decent at the moment as well. I mean, guys, I know, Sam, I know you can't make it, but Blood Bowl rosters are always fun to brew up. What guys? What teams do you reckon would do well in this format at 1200 with at least 1 star and no skills?
My first thought was Skaven for this.
There is a pretty tasty Skaven roster: 3 gutters, 3 rerolls, and hack phlegm, and a roger as well, and I think an apothecary.
Wow.
It is a pretty tasty roster. Now, Skaven don't need a lot of skills. Having 4 normals across the day means you can start that roger off with probably on a Skaven team, potentially Brawler. Might be good. I mean, you guys had a fun lot of time with Frenzy this week, and I feel like Brawler is actually quite good on a strength 5 piece that's going to be frenzying and not blitzing. Or take jugs, perhaps, or guard. I don't know. There's a load of good skills, but you don't need any of them. I think is probably the key when it comes to Skaven.
With such a low skill package, I think that any team which comes with skills pre-built is going to do well. I want to say dwarfs, because 1200 TV is big for them, and they don't need many skills. And if you get 4 skills, just 4 guard.
Yeah. The thing is, dwarves are good low, but they're good low with some skills, because they do need like 2 guard to start brewing up. I mean, first game's going to be good. You can fit, I think, a death roller. I think it was roller, maybe Acorn in there, and 11 players.
I wouldn't take a roller.
I wouldn't know the roller. No, but I was just like, can you actually afford a roller?
Yeah.
Yes. Do you want to? Probably never. Better off just using the death roller model and using it as Zug.
I was thinking humans.
Yeah.
Like, they're pretty good in 2020. They're pretty good all-round starters, and they've got access to some good star players.
That's a really good point, actually. Humans at 1 million, you get everything you need. So
yeah, and I think you're just topping them up with some access to some good star players. In fact, I think you can probably play around with that 11. Your star player being the 11th player on the team, and you can look at taking someone a bit more expensive.
You could easily fit Griffin to 1200 with humans.
Yeah. And I think them as like it's always difficult because you don't know what your opponents are going to take, but humans can kind of deal with a little bit of everything.
They're the ultimate
mid-range team.
Yeah,
and it gives you that kind of opportunity to sort of shoot straight down the line.
I love orcs. Okay, when I was doing all the formation videos, I just chucked in like 6-7 reps with every single team as I was going through them. And I fell in love with orcs on a literally bring it kind of 4 linebackers do it. I absolutely loved them. The sad thing is they don't really have any great star players. Those cheap goblin stars and stuff that they are missing still. It really hurts them, because when it comes to star players, I think Milton Helmet is probably the best one. You've got no fast piece, you've got no edge piece, you've got no scrapper sawhead. The best I could brew up in an orc roster was dropping a lineman and fitting Grack and Crumbleberry in there, which was quite cool. Yeah. You got 12 orcs, 3 rerolls, 4 blitzers, 4 bobs, 2 linemen, and Grack and Crumbleberry for 1200, which I thought was actually quite cool and could be a really bring it on. I've got to do with sure hands. It's not a thrower, so therefore I'm not going to get bullied by all the other orc players. And you get a ton of strength, and they don't need a lot of skills. I do think with orcs, if you want them to start brewing up, they do need 3-4 block skills. And I know I'm probably saying that because I'm friends with you, Milton, but I do think that they really start cooking when you've got 8 block players.
It's interesting that you say that, because initially I was all like, well, I'm just going to run my Bonehead Bowl team in pretty much in this.
With an extra 100.
I'll tweak it a bit. Maybe I'll bring a troll in with the extra money, obviously. But you're right. So massively suffer from the lack of skills, it leaves your biggins pretty exposed. I know they're strength 4, and that's great, but they do need those skills to kind of gain that momentum. And yeah, you're right. Helmet is probably the best choice, and he's decent, he's fun, but he's not reliable as a chainsaw player. And so
he's one and done,
they really
isn't he?
kind of suffer from that. And you know what, having played Bonehead Bowl, really enjoyed running him and everything. But it got me excited and it got me thinking, and there were some really interesting teams at Bonehead Bowl, as we've already discussed. And yeah, I'm now not 100% sure what I want to take to this. I'm thinking my way through things. I'm looking at what the options are, and like I say, I think I don't have a human team to take, but if I did, I would definitely consider the humans. I think
they are good,
potentially a really good option here, and I like your Skaven idea, although. Yeah, it sounds filthy, but
and you get the Rat Ogre, which is quite. This is why I'm really contemplating the Skaven angle, but I don't know if I really want to go full on tier 1. Now, Snotlings on the other end, you can take everything you could ever dream of: 2 pump wagons, just a ton of stuff, and hack flame, and just a bunch of bribes and riotous rookies. It's really tempting. There's some really tempting builds there. I mean. It's just really interesting, because normally you think tier 1 are going to be good, because tier 1 teams have at 4 or 5 skills really start coming together. Orcs, dwarves, those teams that need 4 skills to start brewing up. When you don't have those skills, you need a star player to add that spice factor, and a lot of those tier 1 teams don't have that style of. They don't have the hack phlegm to add a missing piece, or just to double up on a missing piece. There is Griff is. I think probably a really good shout when it comes to like humans and stuff is 280, which is a ton, but he's that Ag 2+ piece. He gives you the speed and the agility as well as the strength angle. But I think if they had like a fast movement 8 player with high Ag or something, that would be brilliant on a load of those teams. And where Chaos have got some fun rosters in there as well, because 1200 you can get a ton of stuff for Chaos. You've got that hack phlegm option, so you can take the thing that you're missing from your team that kind of counters from the skills. But again, Chaos need 4 skills to start brewing up. They need a sure hands, and they need some block on their blockers.
Can hack phlegm run for Chaos then? Yeah,
you pick a team. Hack phlegm plays for them. Sometimes
I have a Chaos team.
Yeah, hack phlegm on a Chaos build, 180k. You get 4 warriors, 3 rerolls. A bunch of beastmen. I don't think you can fit you can fit a Minotaur in as well as hack phlegm, but you have to drop one of your blockers, basically.
Okay, that sounds interesting.
But I think the other thing here is that where you've got that ability to take basically a player instead of your 11th player, you kind of almost want to go in and take a star you wouldn't normally take, or just kind of open up a build that you wouldn't normally be able to build. It's just that when you get into that price range, there's not a lot of massive game changers. Like, Morg is a beast, but a normal team isn't taking Morg. Stunty teams, absolutely. I really liked Lee's Griff Ogrewold build. That was very good. And at 1100. So being able to chuck an extra 100k on there probably gets you another Ogre.
I think... Yeah, so Lee didn't take rookies either.
No.
But I think with... How much is rookies? 50k?
100. So you could just take his Bonehead build, although he had leader on a punter, I think, didn't he?
He had leader on a punter.
Yes, he did. And he had tackle on an ogre, which was genius.
Yeah.
So you'd have to drop a well, I suppose if you just took leader as your punter skill from game 1, you could still backfill that extra reroll that way and have Griff and have rookies. But the downside of the ogre team is that rookies don't have swarming, and I really feel like that's such no. I feel like that's such a massive loss from ogres versus 2 of the other stunty teams. Yeah, I mean, BT, what are you thinking? Are you set? You got some ideas?
I think I'm set. On trying to try out nobility in this one.
Okay, 1200 for nobility. You can get a very good roster. But what star and how are you going to fit the star in?
So it's like Sam was saying, nobility do actually come with a hell of a lot of skills off the bat, and pretty good ones for like that play style. So I was going to sort of double down on that, and I was originally considering Griff, but I actually have changed my mind, and I'm going to try him with Zug. And there's a couple of reasons. One is because I already have an ogre painted, and I can just run that as Zug, so I don't have to paint up another star because I haven't got a painted Griff. The other reason is he gives you a block ogre. That's really good with a really good ability that gets you add +1 to an armor roll when you knock someone down.
In a situation where you can't get skulls. Where you can't get skills. Sorry, Sam.
And so he doesn't have a bonehead either, does he? So
No, exactly. He'll just give you a really reliable strength 5 piece to play in your control game. A little bit of extra removal, and he's just a better ogre. And for he's 220k, which is quite cheap for stars in this edition.
You can squeeze that into a pretty reasonable roster, especially if he can be your 11th player.
Yeah,
exactly. So I think I worked it out. I'm taking 3 rerolls, 2 blitzers, 4 bodyguards, a thrower, and 3 linemen, I think it is.
Yeah, well, for that price, you just build a million TV team, drop a linesman, and add Zug.
Pretty much.
Essentially. And you do have that first skill if you need to go leader to pick up the third reroll, which I think is probably what you're doing, Ben? That TV? Or
either leader or sure hands. Technically leader is a sure hands, but like picking up the ball with ability is a pain.
I do like sure hands in a tournament environment. Like, it's weird.
Yeah.
You know,
it works.
I do like that in a tournament environment.
I'm also tempted for kick just to really double down on that control, but that might come later. I think I need to be able to pick up the ball first.
So sure hands round 1, kick round 2, just drop it right there along your bodyguards and just stand firm, wrestle, and dominate.
Kind of the game plan. Yeah,
that is very cool. I did have one spicy build, hand, which was Glorial Summerbloom with Pro Elves. So, Pro Elves, you can get a decent starting roster. I think it's 3 rerolls, a thrower, 2 catches, 2 blitzers. Right? That's not bad. Glorial's 150, so you can chuck that on and actually upgrade. I think you can end up with 2 blitzers, a thrower, 3 catches, 3 rerolls, and Glorial Summerbloom. She might be the 11th player, I think, but Glorial is awesome. Alright, movement 7, strength 2 sucks, but this is not what she's doing. Edge 2+, passing 2+, but with accurate, dodge, loner 3+, pass, sidestep, and that sure hands, and once a game she gets Hail Mary pass. So Hail Mary pass I can't see being useful, but that 2++ with sure hands, and then 1++ with a quick pass, or 2++ short pass, just makes that throwing game absolutely ridiculous. That's what is that? -1 minus. All right, the longer pass is not so great, but a 2+ move. So movement 7. Then 6 squares of throwing. She's got 13 square range. Catchers in this team have got nerves, okay, and catch. So they're 2++ to receive the ball wherever. That's 8 movement squares. That's 21 squares. Like, you've got Glorial 5 squares away from your end zone, and with a cheeky 2++, 2++, and a dodge, you've got a touchdown. The downside of that roster is you've got no defense. The best defense you've got here is lining up vanilla elves and those 2 blitzers, and that's going to be a lot of work when you're playing against teams that are, for example, running Zug and 6 combat teams, or orcs where they've got 8 warriors on the pitch and probably a big guy or a chainsaw or some kind of removal piece. Like, I feel like this offense is unstoppable, probably more unstoppable than Underworld. But you've got nothing to back it up. So I think Underworld are probably a better tier 2 pick. But this tournament doesn't have tiers. So you are kind of, doesn't matter what you take, you're even. Really interesting meta. Like,
are the stars mandatory? Do you have to take a star?
You have to take 1 star at least.
Okay.
What do Chaos Dwarves get access to?
Hackflem?
Yeah, because I was going to lead on from what Sam was saying about dwarves sort of starting with a lot of skills already, and the Chaos Dwarves are not an exception to that, are they?
No.
I think, unfortunately, the Teams of Legend quite often get little bit forgotten about because they're not in the main book.
But that was why I was so excited to see Joe's build with the Tomb Kings at the tournament, because I hadn't even considered 2 Guardians and Cheney. But yeah, Cheney's that option to bring in something that the team is missing, which is decent edge, decent speed. And like you say, Chaos Dwarves, where they've got access to Hackflem, that's a pretty decent build there. I mean, it's a 10-20 Chaos Dwarf team with Hackflem on top. The only benefit here is that getting hold of a Chaos Dwarf team that doesn't look a little bit like hot garbage is a little bit challenging. So,
well, you could always go the Killer Randall route.
Yeah,
he's got a wicked-looking Chaos Dwarf team.
Skull Dwarves and Goblins, yeah. But then you're building a custom team. There's a couple of other cool... I mean, I do like the idea of Grak and Crumbleberry in an undead team. I just think that's quite fun. Throw a teammate with your mummies, Capera mummies, and an ogre. That's a pretty strong front. But I think star players, you've got to consider the fact that they are going to have a star player. This is kind of like... You've got to take that into consideration, otherwise it is just top trumps with expensive players. So Zug is great because he fits in with the team, and then you've got a decent team for defense because you've got 4 wrestle pieces and 2 movement 7 block. That's a good secondary. Orcs, good defense because you've got those 4 bubs to take on strength, and you've got 4 blitzers to play safety. But when it comes to the kind of fast teams, like you can go Lightning. So the Skaven build I kind of like, but it is going to be vulnerable. Although you've got Hackflem himself. And I think Cheney is probably going to be a really good pickup in this meta because he is a strength 4 safety. He's a strength 4 sweeper. So on D, if you've got an undead build with Cheney, this is something I actually think is really tasty. Or Tomb Kings. You've got that strength up front, you've got some block pieces, you've got some dodge pieces if you're running undead, and then you've got that massive strength 4 dude with frenzy. So he's basically going to be 4-die blocking anybody in the backfield. That's Hackflem gone if they're trying to break through with Hackflem. If they're going for a cheeky breakout. I don't know.
You also get this once per game injury reroll, so you can use that against the star.
Oh, yeah, just absolute removal. There are no stars with tackle anymore, are there?
I don't. Possibly one of the dwarves. Does Grim have it?
No,
he doesn't.
Block Dauntless, Frenzy, Multi-Block, and Thick Skull.
Brindle, Scroll.
Now that
Brindle doesn't. Scroll doesn't.
That is quite fun, actually. I like the idea of Grim running a right. I like the very much. Be patient with me here. 2 Slayers, Grim, and Acorn, I think would be insanely fun. I don't think it would do very well at all, but that would be wicked. Like a 3.5 Slayer team. Just Khorne Dwarves would be pretty fun as well.
I've just seen there is one player, Lucian Swift, has tackle. So if you can spare the $340 million to run Lucian Swift and his friend.
I like the Swift Twins. The Swift Twins do some great work, but trying to fit in you're just taking line elves at 850. That's not fun. I just don't think that's going to be a lot of fun. It's a really interesting tournament. I like it. It's forcing us to look at star players, but it's forcing us to look at all the star players, not just the ones we would consider potentially S and A tier, the ones who are game changers. So I'm stuck. We've got 14 days, I think, before I need to finalise and then panic build a team. Milton feels like he's a bit lost. Ben's got some painting to do, probably, undoubtedly.
Yeah.
Sam can be our coach for this event. Just help us choose decent teams. But it's a really interesting meta, and I do like this because, and this is where I think, if you guys are happy, we'll move on to the star player conversation before we go into tiers, which is tournament results are coming in from all around the world now, and star players are being a massive thing. And you'll see on the Blood Bowl community, there's a lot of like, should we ban stars? Like, should we ban their special powers? It feels like the meta is all about stars. If you look at our tournament, all right, there was 2 Hackflems. One did really well, one did fine. And there was Cheney in the top 4 as well. But the other top 4 teams, no star players. Like, Undead was just vanilla Undead. Corn was as vanilla as Corn can be. So and Wayne only just won. Like, he 3-0'd, but he 3-0'd and had to fight his way through. Like, this wasn't a cakewalk. And that is good. I feel like you can still beat these teams, and the teams with the star players that are massively potent, those star players are still vulnerable. I think we've just got to consider running a safety to take them out. And I think having that high strength, if you've got it, block if you've got it, tackle piece to be a safety early on in this environment is going to be really useful. So if you're looking at an undead build, that one first skill probably got to be a tackle wraith, a tackle white, or a tackle wraith if you're running necro, although I'd rather put tackle on a werewolf for the cheeky frenzy max out, because you're going to need somebody to sweep those breakthrough players to stop that like unstoppable touchdown situation. It's really interesting. What do you guys think about star players in the meta at the moment? Are they dominant?
They are interesting. I think they have a bit more of a prominence than they might have had before. I think the abilities, when people start remembering to use them, will be quite game-changing, because that is definitely something I think we're all getting used to, is being able to use these cool things.
And I think Hackers is going to be so important to that. Because of his that's my ball now ability. It's just an auto pass, and then with extra heads and extra arms, he's doing everything else on a 1+ anyway. It's just awesome. Yeah, right. Oh god, I don't want to take Hackflem because I don't want to be that guy, but also he's awesome, and I do want to take Hackflem.
Yeah. I don't know. I think so. I'm not going to the tournament, so you guys are going to have to let me know. But I think there's going to be a lot of Hackflem there.
That's why I think having a high strength player to sweep, or someone with tackle, I think Norse would do great in this environment. You've got those 2 Ulfwereners to be strength 4 sweepers at the backfield, and you can get them at TV 1000. They've got old world classic legend like level stars as well, so you can take Griff, you can take Zog. You don't really want to, because they don't have any difference making stars. I think probably the best star for Norse would probably be the girl one, Carla. I feel like Carla might be a good pickup for Norse, because she's cheap at 210. You can take Zug and get that strength 5, but you've already got the Yeti potentially. 210 Carla actually fills out with the 3rd strength 4 player, and this one comes with block. It's not the most exciting build, but then you're just playing high strength games.
Blodge as well, isn't it? So
yeah. Norse with Carla might be pretty good as well. On the plus side, the limited skill set means that Amazons aren't going to perform brilliantly, because Amazons need 6 to 7 skills to start being real spicy.
They add a blitzer every game, so that's always
exactly. What's the skill package? How many blitzers do I have? 10 skills. All good. Wicked. So, Isle of Wight, do let us know if you're coming. Let us know what rosters you think are going to be good, and you guys are going to have to help me choose, because I am stumped. It's basically going to be Hackflem or Acorn, and I don't know which one to go with. So, let me know what your thoughts are.
How much is Acorn?
80k.
I wonder if we'll see a lot of Acorn just because he's cheap and people can then build their roster around that.
Now, I actually went this route immediately. I was like, cool, how do I sneak in extra players? But at the same point, like, it would work on a Dark Elf team, okay? Take Acorn, then you've got an 11-20 Dark Elf team, but you've got no skills. So you're really not netting anything. And that's the thing, is if you had skills on top of it, you could max out the players. You don't have skills, so you have to use that cash to buy the skills via star players. So it's really interesting. Really interesting. I'm just looking forward to 8 games. 4 games, sorry. 8 games would be a stretch in one day, I think. Anyway, guys, we are going to bounce for a second, and then we're going to talk more star players. It's Milton time. It's the tier list. Okay, so we were chatting the other day, and Milton just had this idea out of nowhere, which was about, actually, he was like, have you got a top rated star player thing? And I was like, yeah, no worries, here's a top 5 Friday. And he was like, no, Ben, I need a tier list. So Milton, why? Like, what's the plan? Where has this come from? I think it's genius, and I don't think I've seen it, but man, why?
So, okay. So, like, we've obviously had a lot of discussion about the star players, and as you've previously mentioned, we're getting all of this chat coming in from all of the tournament scene that the meta is around the star players. you know. And so I was sort of sat there and I was like, well, that's okay, but like I don't really know very much about all the star players, and I could go through and I can read the stats and stuff, and I can kind of make a best guess, but I've not played with many of them on the pitch because back in 2016, I kind of didn't really want to play with them. Kind of just wanted to play with my team. And there wasn't really much of an incentive to kind of pick them up and run with them unless you were in like a league game and there was a high disparity of inducement. And even for some of the tournament lists, we saw them, but we didn't see them as frequently as I think we're going to see them coming forward. And I've seen these tier lists for like different video games. In particular, I've seen them for ranking Dragon Ball characters, just about like how Super Saiyan you are. And I'm thinking, okay, what are my S tier star players? What are the ones that we're going to be seeing a lot of? What are the ones that are really, like really stand out? And I was like, and then actually just dialing that back a bit and seeing what, what's below that? What's your A tier? What's your B tier? And what's, C and D? What aren't you going to be seeing a lot of? What aren't you going to be picking? Because each star player obviously can only, now that everything's pooled using the keywords, you've got a lot of different access to different teams, but they are limited to those teams. Obviously, you've got a very different selection to what you had in 2016, and that really has changed quite a lot.
Plus, with the fact that they've all got cheaper and they've all been buffed with their special abilities as well, which makes them more attractive.
Exactly. So I thought it would be fun to kind of create a tier list with all the star players, and we give it a go and see what we can come up with, and have a quick chat about it.
So, Milton, I know you've put yours together, so I'll pop it up on the screen. If you want to talk through yours, we've all done one, so we can kind of go through and compare as well, just because I think it'd be quite good fun. So, Milton, yours is up on the screen.
Disclaimer to start with, I appreciate I have missed a couple of the star players off here. So we're missing Bryce the Slice, we're missing Acorn, and we're missing the new one, which is Max Spleen Ripper.
Oh, we don't have rules for Max yet, so we're not...
But we don't have rules for him yet, so it's really only Acorn and Bryce. They just slipped my mind, really. But we'll not worry about that. Okay. So I'll probably get absolutely slaughtered for my choices, but...
Yes, you will.
Ben's like, this is Warhammer Plus all over again. You can see him twitching. He will not pay $4.99 a month for this.
How could you, Milton?
So basically, like, my first two picks were Gretchen and Hank Flem, and I went for Hank Flem right at the top there. I mean, we've discussed him a lot already today. He's been discussed a lot in our like league chat. He's obviously good. His special rule is great. Gretchen, on the other hand, I feel womp womp. She's right down there as probably my like lowest choice. I mean, I like the Games Workshop model, and I have a lovely Punga model of her, but I don't suspect I'll be seeing very much of them. And so I kind of went less about like power rating and more about like what I thought I was most likely to see played in exhibition play. So what I'm most likely to come up against, what I'm likely to see a lot of, and that kind of came in as a combination of things like cost and the access that they've got. So the different teams, the teams that we see. Of course, again, we come back to the Hack Flem idea where we're probably going to be seeing a lot of Underworld, a lot of Skaven, maybe even a few like Chaos teams throwing in the Hack Flem upgrade. And so, yeah, it was him, and I put Cheney up there because I think Cheney's great. I think he's by far the best undead star.
I agree with that, definitely. And now I think the best way to describe S tier is they're game changers. So Hack Flem, 100% S tier because he just gives you everything you need to almost any like half the teams in the game can just take a strength and agility boosted gutter runner for the lols. Like, that Chaos team, slow and bashy. Nurgle, slow and bashy, no agility, have a Hackflem, and all of your problems are solved. It's literally like voting for Pedro on the Blood Bowl pitch, this one.
So Cheney's an interesting one, though, because, of course, necromantic, you've already got wolves and stuff, but undead, vampires, and Tomb Kings, all quite slow. I know you've got the ghouls on the undead team, but they're super fragile. They're not super reliable in my experience, and so I think Cheney really kind of stands out for that undead coverage. Really,
you
so
get
I've
movement
stuck him
8
up there.
and strength 4. Like it's
He's
just really good.
I've played a lot against werewolves, haven't I? But and
including strength 4 werewolves in the last season.
I've
Killed
spent
many
a
a
lot.
wolf.
I've spent many a time slaying a lycanthrope.
Different kind of underworld.
Shark with a ghost.
They're not easy prey. So
so those are Milton's S ranks. Who's coming in A rank for you?
Yeah, so I really like Grack and Crumbleberry. I think they're really accessible. Any team can take them. Pretty sure any team can take them. Yeah.
Yep, any team.
And I think, in terms of like tournament standards, when we've got things like the SandBowl, the packages with the stars and whatever, you've got some wiggle room, particularly for stunty teams. People like taking their stunty teams. You've even got some of the more like mid-range teams where you can sort of squeeze Grack and Crumbleberry in. And you can make some really interesting builds around them, as you've already mentioned. Griff is solid, just straight through, isn't he? I mean, he's got that old world classic access, which covers quite a few teams, actually. I think, as you've mentioned, Lee.
Yeah.
Lee had his Griff Ogre build. I was saying about the humans. I mean, you can squeeze Griff into a team for that, for like SandBowl, for example, and really round them out. Again, Carla's in a similar position, really. She's a bit cheaper. Halflings, you can get her into that. And so I kind of felt like she would be quite a popular option. We'll see. I've picked Rumblow as well. Because I think I see a lot of halfling teams. I mean, to all the tournaments I've been to, I think there's always been at least 2 halfling teams. They're a popular choice.
It's because they're so cheap and they become a canvas for star players.
He's just an obvious pick for them, right? Like, why would you not take him? And I think his special rule is great. I mean, he gets like a free mighty blow, basically. So yeah, I've stuck him in there. Probably a bit controversial, maybe that one. And then I know you picked up on this before. You said to me, "Oh, what have you done with your B tier, considering your current choice?" But actually, I think you summarised it really well, which is he's a pick out of necessity.
He's just the best
because
access
he's the
they've
best
got.
out of he's just the best access they've got. He's not that expensive. He's a bit of fun. If you got to take a star player, you got to do something with him. Yeah, he's your go-to. Morg is expensive, obviously, always, but when you've got like high TV teams and whatever, I he is just an all-round great star. He's always kind of been, albeit always expensive. And then Deep Root, I'd love to see some stunty teams with halflings with Deep Root in it. And then the others, I mean, I don't care about any of those.
That's fair. All right, lads. So looking at Milton's list here, is there any... I mean, what do we want to do? Do we want to look at eaches and then argue about the differences? Or Ben, have you got any things you want to point out that you find offensive about this list?
Ben's
Can we
going for the
call out?
jugular.
We just call out the BS as it's shown up. Yeah, like what is that you've circled, Milton? Oh, okay, tell me, Milton. Defend yourself here.
Milton
How is
has
Zug deep here?
To be fair, Zug was one of the ones where I kind of just glossed over him. I was like, I don't really know anything about Zug. Do I want to know anything about Zug? Nah, he can go in the bottom.
So yeah, Milton has gone real heavy on the D tier. Gretchen, fair. Zolcath the Zote, fair enough. Glart and Roxana and Eldril and Grim and Zug. Oh, harsh, I think. I think it's just because orcs can't take any of those, so they are, for all intents and purposes, dead to Milton.
Do you know what? You can very much see where like all the elves are sat, because I will never pick up another elf team ever again.
We'll see. But it's interesting though. Milton, just look at your tier list. You're right. When it comes to star players for orcs, the best you've got is B. Like you've got a cheeky B tier, and then it's Varag and the Goblin.
Varag,
and that's
it.
So
before, I have to come clean. So before this was S A B C D. This was I think it was sort of Saiyan was the S tier, and then it was pretty good was the A tier, and then good was B, and then C was so meh, and then we kind of got down to D, and I was like no. But Varag sat in disappointingly underwhelming. You know,
I agree with that. I do think Varag is a underwhelming star versus his price.
Yeah, I mean he's like his miniature is great. It's in the box set. You know, he's got all that history with him, and like you say, he's got access to the orc teams, whether it's all the green skin teams basically. And I think he's just not.
The difference is he doesn't give you anything you're missing. He just gives you more of what you've already got. Like orc teams, you've got 4 blitzers, 4 black orcs, a troll, and then cool, I can take a star player to give me strength 5. Why? Why do you need that? Like that would be like being like, I have a gun collection. Cool, I now have a gun. Just an odd one.
Do you know what? The point of this exercise was to educate myself about star players. So I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys have got, because I'm sure you'll have completely different perspectives on it.
All right. And all right. Who wants to go next? Let's.
Ben is looking happy about it, so I think we should go with his.
Okay, let's go with Blood Tithes roster here. So Ben, what have you got for us?
Yeah, mine's quite different. I initially thought I had the exact reversal of A and C from Milton. Though my S tier, I've stuck.
Oh,
yeah, I know exactly why you've done that. For both of them,
what is
Ben.
this?
I think I know exactly what that is.
Oh, Ben is trolling here.
I'm not trolling. Okay, right. I'll go to my D tier.
All right.
Morg and the Swift twins. Morg is infamous because he is just so expensive you never actually see him on the table, and he just doesn't do that for his price. Like, why pay for Morg when you can pay like 150k less for someone who does the same thing? Because strength 6 is a bit redundant. His special ability is really kind of pointless, because if you're throwing teammate with Morg, you've wasted 340k. And yeah, I've never liked Morg. I like him as a character, but I've never liked him as a star player. I feel like you're only picking him just for the novelty of picking Morg. And the Swift twins, we've said they take up like they're just very expensive.
The Swift twins are borderline unbuyable. I get that.
You'll never have that on an elf team.
But come on, man, Gretchen in C tier. What?
Oh,
what is?
She should have her own tier underneath them.
G tier.
I think you guys are okay. I won't lie. She's trash. She's garbage. But I think you're being a little bit too harsh on Gretchen. I think she has potential. Yes, she's really expensive, but she can still be annoying. I'd still rather have her than Morg. I will say that.
Pick up the ball.
Doesn't need to. She just needs to be her. Yeah, okay, she's pretty rubbish.
That's a fair point, actually. I hadn't even considered that.
She basically just takes up a square on the pitch, and that's it. Like,
yeah.
I get what Ben's saying. Like, she may be trash, but she's affordable trash. Yeah. That's what places her in C tier.
Just because you can actually buy her, therefore she's above the unbuyable tier.
That's pretty much what my C tier is. It's ones that you don't really ever want, but you can actually buy them.
No,
can you fit Morg into like a Snotling team or something?
Yeah, you can.
Well, there we go.
But Ben is right. At that point, actually, are you not better off taking another 2 star players?
That's true.
Yeah,
because you can take Morg for 380, or you can take Hackflem and 200k of something else. Like, you know,
basically almost the Zug.
It's basically Hackflem and Zug. Or they can't both go on the same team. But anyway, it's Yeah, it's a tough one. I think Hackflem just throws out that kilter. A tier, well, S tier Ben, Griff, Hackflem, Wilhelm. Is that all that they are game changers?
Yeah, same reasons as before. I've stuck Borak quite high compared to Milton. I've put him at A tier, and that's purely
because
like
he's so cheap.
You guys might have disagreed with this, but he comes with a reroll.
He does come with half a reroll. Yeah.
Consider him being 50k off his price because half a reroll. He's 210k for a pretty decent dude. Yeah, sure. He's like bowling for some reason, but he's pretty good at it.
That's thematic. So, he's mighty blow block, isn't he?
He is still mighty blow block, yeah.
Mighty blow
I think 210k for a strength 5 mighty blow block piece is a cheaper Zug. So
yeah, he's just super chaos warrior, isn't he? That's what he does.
Okay. Now what you're going to have to do is sell me on Paul Glart Bullcop because I don't get it. Like what?
Glart is sub. He's sub 200k, so he's in the cheaper end of some of the stars. He's a really solid piece. You know, you've got a strength 4 blitzer with grab, juggernaut, claw. It's pretty much skills you'd want on your blitzer with a stat up for 195.
But what teams do you see taking it?
Underworld normally. He's normally the counterpart to Hackflem.
Yeah, so this is the thing, isn't it? If you're taking Hackflem, what are the chances that you're also taking Paul?
Well, we can't. If all of these are ranked against Hackflem, they'd be all on the bottom and then one at the top.
I still think Gretchen would be under them.
I get it. 100%. I get it. That's fair enough. That's a fair comment. And I probably underwhelm it. And I think
Gretchen is the same price as old reroll Chaos Lord. That's just, and like Milton said, it's got no arms.
Yeah. She is bad. You can knock her down to D2.
Poor Gretchen. Lovely model. Great to use as a wraith in a necromantic team.
Yeah.
G tier.
That's pretty much and B tier are all the ones that you kind of described, where it's like they do
stuff.
The thing they do pretty well, but you can always have there's worse ones. They're just average.
Yeah. All right. I like that. Sam, should we bounce to yours? I liked yours.
Can do.
Yours was quite good. Here we go. So I love Sam's. Sam committed. Sam has D tier, C tier, B tier, A tier, and Dwarf tier. Talk us through your list, Sam. Talk us through the tiers.
So I didn't have a lot of time to work on mine, so a lot of mine is born out of total ignorance, I'll admit.
And bias.
Apart from the Dwarf tier, that's provable scientific fact. So Gretchen, again, like we've already covered, useless. C tier are the guys who Zolcath, I don't think we'll ever see him. Rumbelow, like halflings are going to probably take Grack and Crumbleberry. Glart, again, Hackflem's there. The Swift Twins are too expensive. B tier are what I think are the ones that will get taken if they can. Like you said there, you've got Helmet, Borak, Zug. They're like mainstays. A tier are. I didn't realize at the time, but I've basically picked out what I think is the archetypal star for each like race. So you've got Griff, Barag, Hackflem, Eldril. Eldril is special to me because of the Fumble League. He put in an absolute shift for my high elves a couple of times. And
he is good. He is solid.
Morg probably shouldn't be there. Like you said, he's too expensive, but he's the face of Blood Bowl, isn't he?
He is.
Yeah, but he is rubbish.
So I just figure he kind of has to be there.
I don't know about Roxana. Is it Roxana?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Dark Elf.
Yeah.
I think.
I mean, I'm not sold on her at all.
She is really good. She is really good, but she is very expensive and kind of suffers the Swift Twin problem of just not being affordable in an elf team. So Roxy used to be taken all the time on Amazons because Amazons just had free money. hardly ever got taken in elf teams. Now she's limited just to elf teams. I don't think we'll see her very often. She's a great player, but it's a lot of cash. It's just probably better to have 2 witch elves. Or Glorial. From an elf point of view, because she does stuff your team doesn't do, where Roxy kind of falls into the Varag trap of just does more of the same stuff, although at least she's Edge 1+ and like has crazy goddess abilities. I actually like Roxana.
She was D tier for me for a while. C tier for me for a while, and then I actually bumped her up to B at the last minute just because, like, yeah, she's expensive, but at least I feel like you do get what you pay for with her, just because she is extreme. She will win you a game if you can buy her, but she is just really expensive.
I do like that. I think that's pretty well reasoned out. I think the only thing I'd pick out is Wilhelm being B tier, but I guess you've got him under Griff and Hackflem, so I can understand that.
So I confess I know nothing about Wilhelm.
Fair enough.
I didn't get to see him in action at Bonehead Bowl. I know he's a werewolf, I think.
Yeah.
I knew that he played for undead teams, and I was like,
do they need him?
Do they need him? Can they ever afford him? Kind of thing.
I like that.
With Wilhelm, I think one of the reasons, at least for me, that bumped him up is his ability, which is very powerful. I believe it is, you can re-roll. Once per game, when making an injury roll against an opponent, you may choose to re-roll the result. So he can re-roll an injury roll, which is really good because he will get them.
Strength 4.
That is really sweet for
Frenzy. He's gonna break armor at some point, isn't he? He is definitely going to break armor, and he's got wrestle as well. So he's like an ultimate safety. So he may not have tackle, but frenzy wrestle strength 4 means he's 4-die block it. If you need someone to, Wilhelm might be a really good counter to Hackflem. He's just going to 4-die that punk.
He's great in a tournament setting because, like, also worst case, if you're running your undead team or your slow team like Milton said, or Kemri team, you can hand off the ball to him and he's got catch and he can re-roll that and run it into the end zone because he's still movement 8. So he just he's got that play as well.
I like that. He gives the
great
team.
if he had a mini, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Sorry?
It'd be great if he had a mini.
All
There's
right.
loads of wolves out there. You can do it.
So that brings it to mine. One more zoom in there. So S tier, I've got Hackflem and Griff for the obvious reasons. They help your team do stuff the team doesn't normally do. Griff just adds edge bonus to every team. So ogres, all of a sudden you've got a agility 2++ guy. Humans, dwarves, whatever, you've got agility plus, high agility and good speed. Hackflem, exactly the same thing. A tier, I had Wilhelm a little bit under. So I had Wilhelm at that lower element. He's got the same agility as the team, but he's got good speed and good strength. Like, he is a toolkit piece. Where's my little drawing thing? So he's a toolkit piece. Carla, toolkit. Zug, toolkit. Glart, toolkit. And old Bony Boy, Morg. They're all toolkit pieces. They just fit in like elements of the green Thunderbird. So, Carla's cheap enough. She can go in most teams and does cool stuff, but it's not as good as Griff. Zug does cool stuff, but he's just a boosted ogre. Morg is very expensive, but he's got good edge, he's got good strength, he does good stuff, he's got no bonehead. I like him, he's powerful. Glart is good because he's cheap, and for 380k you get 2-star players in there, 1 strength 4 claws block. He's a bit of a bruiser. B tier is other stuff. I've got Deep Root because Deep Root's good, but he's just fine. Grak is fine, Helmet is fine, Grim is fine, Sheep Boy fine, but not as good as Carla. The Black Goblin, good, but is his own game plan. If you're playing a Black Goblin roster, you're playing a different team. So it's like saying, I'm playing Black Goblin, Black Orcs, means you've gone bribe heavy, guard heavy, and you get a dirty player the stuff out of things. Grak and Crumbleberry, again, you're playing a Grak and Crumbleberry team. And Glorial Roxy, you are playing a Glorial or Roxy team at that point. So this kind of fills out warps your team for the better. A for me is just toolkit to help your team do more stuff. B, you've got a specific build in order, really. C is other stuff who are fine and can be taken, Maybe, probably priced these guys wrong. Swift Twins I just don't think can be taken. Varag is alright. The White Dwarf's cool, but very much, I think, like Willow, is just not the best way to spend 200k. Like, Willow's great at 150, but I'd rather have a reroll and an extra positional for an elf team than Glorial. Than Willow. At least Glorial's got sure hands and does cool stuff. I actually wonder if Glorial should be better. It's just that elves can't normally afford her. Skrull is awesome, but he's a meme. But actually, Skrull and the White Dwarf are meme players. Varag just doesn't do anything different. Old Beastie Boy here with the reroll for Borak is probably pretty good. I like that. And then D tier, Gretchen, because she's just garbage. Zolcath, because the teams that can take him, i.e. just don't need him. And they don't need him at that price. And he doesn't do anything special at that price to make him worth it. He's 230k, which is fine. Like, that's achievable, that's affordable. But Zug is 220. Zolcath is faster, and he's got Juggernaut, and he's got Mighty Blows, Sure Feet, Movement 5. He does a lot of stuff better than Zug, but he's Lustrian and Elven Kingdoms. Like, with all due respect, Lizardmen already have a Croxigor, and he's almost half the price, and elves can't even afford their own players, let alone fancy lizard ones. So, yeah, Zolcath best is just benched, and then you've got Frank, and Frank is such a cool idea of a player, but he's just got average stuff for, he's 250, I think. He's just another strength 5 piece. Most teams can take Zug instead, and you just take Zug instead at that point. Or if you want to pay 250, like, why would you ever take him instead of Grak and Crumbleberry? Like, I know he doesn't have Bonehead, but Grak and Crumbleberry comes with another player, and that player has Sure Hands. And what does the undead teams not have? Generally speaking, Edge 3+ and Sure Hands. So you're at least getting a bit of toolkit there, and you create that punt version, whereas the Golem just brings not a lot. Like, it's just thematic and cool, but if you want to use Frank, use him as a mummy, use him as an ogre on your human team. Don't use him as a star player, don't use him as he is, because I just don't think he brings anything. That, for me, was my list. Who have I rated too high? Who have I rated too low? What do you reckon?
I think it's pretty well rounded, but actually, really interestingly, you've got Griff, Carla, Zug, and Morg all in A and S, and so I come back to the human roster for SandBowl. I think you've got some incredible access there.
Humans are well represented, and I mean, Undead have got Wilhelm, and then Chaos have got Pulmart and Hakflem. They've got good options, and Sorry, mate.
I think despite quite the differences between all of our lists, there are some very clear top and very clear bottom choices. There's a lot of difference in the sort of A to C tier, but you can see that Griff, Hakflem, Cheney all sit up there, and that Gretchen and Zolcath and Frank and a few of the others and Varag are sort of
definitely subpar.
Okay, so if I included Acorn on this, where would you all put him?
S.
For me, he is a meme player. I don't even know where I'd put him.
I think he is. He is a meme. I think he's C. I agree. Like, you can take him, but you're not gonna you're gonna be doing a specific thing. I don't think he'll make much impact, but he's cheap enough to not have to worry about that. Yeah, he's. Milton. What about Acorn backing up an Orc team?
Yeah.
But you don't have the skills in this format, do you? That's the problem.
Not really. I mean, yeah.
Oh, that's a shame.
The reason I think he's genuinely S tier is because, one, he's the cheapest by a long shot, and a lot of teams can afford 80k. He can play for any team, so that's a big bonus. But also, especially after playing against how annoying and how hugely buffed Snotlings made Underworld, in my opinion, having just sticking on a super Snotling onto your team, I think can do you wonders. He goes wherever you want him, and he's actually a threat as well. He sidesteps wherever you want him, then he jumps up and dauntlesses with an extra D6 on the thing that knocked him down.
Yeah, he gets to re-roll Dauntless, doesn't he?
Yep. And it's not a once per game thing either. He just re-rolls Dauntless. So
does he really?
Yeah.
I thought it was once per game.
Yeah.
Oh, mate,
It's not
that's
once
awesome.
per game.
Oh, that's awesome.
Wow.
Brilliant.
Oh, that's awesome.
No, that is kind of game changing, isn't it?
Ooh,
With
baby.
Frenzy as well.
I'm just gutted he doesn't have
He
right
just-
stuff.
yeah.
I wish he had right stuff. That would just be amazing. You could throw Acorn. That would just be so good. Because then it would allow
True,
a
isn't it?
throw teammate role for. I mean, he's got no hands, so he can't do stuff. But at least an ability team could sneak an Acorn in and just use him as ammunition, and then he just gets
Yeah,
up,
definitely.
jump up, frenzy, dauntless, suicide
Yeah.
for 80k.
I think he's fantastic.
He is great. He is great. We missed Bryce the
So-
Slice, but I think he probably fits
Yeah,
underneath Wilhelm. Underneath Helmet. Helmet's cheaper.
yeah. I was going to say I'd put him in seed here. I don't.
Yeah. And then you've got Max.
I don't think he's your first pick for an undead team either.
I think Max is probably going to be here as well, unless he comes in at strength 4, but I don't think he does. I think he's got like stand firm or something.
No, so actually, this will be really interesting because winding all the way back to the beginning, we have seen some new star players announced for Blood Bowl 3, and come what may, when Blood Bowl 3 comes out, those star players are going to have stats for the 2020 edition. And so I'm expecting if Games Workshop haven't like already brought out a supplement that includes those star players and their stats for the tabletop, we're going to be ripping all those stats out of the game and playing them on the tabletop.
Definitely.
And so this list may well change. So I think it's going to be really fun to come back and review this at another date. And I think it'd be really cool if Ben, you can put the link out, and anyone that's
Absolutely.
listening to the podcast that wants to have a go at this, I will make sure that it's all up and running, and you can go on Tier Maker using the link and create the list and share it out with us, so we can have a look at what you guys think.
That's great.
Try not to send
Thank
us
you.
too much abuse for our choices.
No, I genuinely want to hear what people think, especially as we're seeing all this stuff in tournaments now. But like you guys have all said, there's definitely a trend there with some style players that are just worthless because there are others that just worth so much more. Like if there was no Hackflem, Glart would be S rank because he'd be omnipresent in those teams and he'd be providing that boost. But why would you ever take him when you can just take Hackflem? And that's a really big thing right now. Anyway, guys, yes, please jump on. I'll put the link in the show notes. Do the tier maker. Let us know your tiers because this is really interesting. And we should probably do it for teams as well at some point because that would just be excellent spice. But I think for now, we've been talking about Blood Bowl for like 3 hours, so we should probably wrap it up. Thank you all very, very much for listening. And Sam, Milton, Ben, thank you very much for hanging out and talking Blood Bowl. Thank you for coming to the tournament. It's great to have you. So Sam, thank you very much. Sorry you can't come to the Isle of Wight, but we'll have to live vicariously through us and our trio of Acorn players now. And Milton, thank you very much for going on to all the effort of building the tier maker thing. I am also quite excited to see what people come up with. And BT, always nice to talk Blood Bowl with you. So
Always.
thank you very much, guys. We're going to disappear. We'll catch you soon. Happy blocking.